We will now begin the Boynton Beach Community Redevelopment Agency Board meeting today, Tuesday, June 12, 2018 at 6:30 p.m. Would everyone please rise for invocation from Board Member McCray, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us bow to the creator and maker of all mankind. Father, here we are once more again, calling upon you for direction. Help us to deliberate the business of this city. Help us to do
Flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible. May I have a roll call, please? Here.
Present.
Here. Here. Any additions or deletions or corrections to the agenda as revised? Seeing none, may I have a motion to approve? Second. All right. All those in favor state so by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Agenda passes unanimously. Moving on to legal. Any items, Tara? Informational items and disclosures by board members of and CRA staff. I'll begin. I spoke with David Katz, who is a lobbyist for Shovel Ready for item 13C, and I represent Scott Maslin in matters in West Palm Beach for items 10H and I. Board Member Casello?
None to disclose.
Board Vice Chair Romulus?
I've spoken to both David Katz and Tom Carney in regards to the agenda item 1211 East Ocean tonight.
Board Member McCray?
vote with David Katz. Thank you.
Board Member Katz?
No items to disclose. Nobody called me about 211. I'm starting to feel left out.
That's okay. Moving on to announcements and awards. First is Movies in the Park.
Good evening, Board. Mercedes Coppin, Special Events Coordinator. First up, Movies in the Park. Our last Movies in the Park of the 2017-18 season was on June 1st. We showed the movie Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle. We had a really good turnout. We estimate that we had approximately 115 people turn out for the event. And during the pre-show, we showcased 4 local CRA businesses, including Shirology Salon, Imperial Maid Service, Miller Time Fishing Charter, and 2 Georges. And that, again, that was the final Movies in the Park for the season. Moving on to Music on the Rocks. Our last Music on the Rocks event was held on Friday, May 18th. Due to rainy weather that was forecasted for the week, we moved the event to the Historic Women's Club of Boynton Beach, and it was absolutely fabulous. We had a great turnout. We had about 325 people. Actually, we had 325 people. We ticketed everyone, so we knew exactly how many people we had in the building. And we had a Van Halen tribute band, completely unchained. It was fabulous. We did do the normal survey that we do during the events, and we found out that 51% of the attendees were residents of Boynton Beach, and about 19% came to the city specifically for leisure for that event. The final Music on the Rocks event for this season will be this Friday. Oh, I'm sorry, disregard the information on the screen. My apologies. The final event will be June 15th, which is this Friday. The band is Wonderama, not completely unchained. We already saw them. They are a top 40s pop band, and they're going to be at the amphitheater from 6 to 9 p.m. There will be food truck invasion as well as cocktails and beverages available and free parking. Any questions?
I don't have a question, but once we begin Town Square, what will we do with Music on the Rocks and Movies in the Park? What are you all looking for future for the citizens of Boynton?
That's certainly something that will be discussed tonight in the budget proposal that we have prepared for the board, and ultimately it'll be your decision as far as how we move forward with those events. Welcome.
All right, any discussion on the informational-only items? Seeing none, we'll now have public comments. Individual speakers will be limited to 3-minute presentations. Please go to the podium to your left, my right, over there, as we have our computer equipment at this one.
Good evening, everyone on the dais. Minister Bernard Wright, CEO of Bernard Wright Ministry, the Robert E. Wells Foundation, and Real Talk Radio, 713 Northwest 2nd Street. Can I just take a moment to say that there are some hurting people in this town. People have passed away. Some have been touched probably in this audience today. So let me just take a second for us to just ask the God of all comfort to comfort all those who have lost loved ones, and especially in this city today. We just thank you, Father, in Jesus' name. And so now it doesn't take but a second to acknowledge certain things. But I just want to say today, tonight, I want to broach on, you know, we had a great Robert E. Wells Love Fest this year. We've been putting it on for 4 years, myself, my ministry, and all my supporters. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Commissioners, all you all who have contributed, all those who are on the city staff who have contributed even into the designs. So tonight I know y'all going to be talking about the budget, but by the grace of God, I'm here tonight so that perhaps we can put the Robert E. Wells Fest into the budget, since it has to do with crime prevention and redevelopment, informative and educational, dealing with our people from a historical point of view. If there is any type of festival that we have, even with Music on the Rocks, that is funded by the CRA, I'm sure that this is something that would be considered primary, first, foremost, above and beyond all things. Because, you know, people without a knowledge of their history and culture is like a tree without roots. Today we know our history in Boynton Beach. It's a great thing. By the grace of God, we can now move on and from that foundation build a better Boynton. I thank God for that. So I appreciate you all when we consider the budget tonight, that will be considered along with what y'all going to consider regarding the MLK, Pirate Fest, whatever. But I'm sure that this being historical and the endeavors of Robert E. Wells and his accomplishments in this town, that you all do acknowledge every year, February the 7th is Robert E. Wells Day in this town, which is my great-grandfather, one of the pioneers of this city, who happened to establish the first church and the first school. So a man with a mindset of having first, we're talking about spiritual, dealing with first being educational, he deserves being acknowledged, and you all do acknowledge him, and I thank you all for it. So at this point in time, I would appreciate y'all put that on the budget. Regarding CRA funding, I don't know if it have anything to do with parks and recreation, but I'm sure you all should now by social media know that we are protesting. And God knows I don't want to do nothing to this city, because when I sue this city, I'm suing myself, my own tax dollars. But sometimes we have to. And because of what's going on with these black children being deprived and have been being deprived for 8 years from going into this recreational center on our tax dollars, it is a pity and it's sad. And we do have attorneys to litigate, and I was trying to keep you all from. But, you know, I will be bringing this up again at the city commission. We will be continuing to protest, and litigation will be, no doubt, on a judge's desk by Friday in federal court. I mean, God knows I didn't want to do this, because I'm about a better born, and every dime need to be spent in the $3 million church we bought. We shouldn't have bought that. We should have, you know, okay. We ain't gonna go there. I don't have that much time. But to God be the glory. Let's just get with it, and let's just get on the right program. I thank y'all. If y'all do consider that tonight.
Sherry Johnson, Community Caring Center, 145 Northeast 4th Avenue. I just wanted to announce that we are in mode to do our second annual culinary job fair. A lot of you attended last year, and if I remember correctly, there were several of you that pledged some type of assistance in driving attendance there, so we'll be focused on that a lot this year. I dropped off cut cards, and we'll be working with the CRA to get those, and we have a great marketing plan, and it includes working with Career Source, Michael Corbett's group. So anything that you can do to help promote and drive attendance to that. I think it was really good last year, and so it's set up pretty much in the same format with almost every one of the recruiters want to come back again, which was amazing. So we're very happy about that. August 7th, Benvenutos, 2 to 6 p.m.
All right, I don't get to stand this side very often. Susan Oyer, 140 Southeast 27th Way. A couple budget suggestions would be to improve and add on to the advertising for all the wonderful events CRA puts on every year, because I think it's a little not enough until later in the season, and we have outstanding movies at the beginning of the movie season, and no one knows about them, and they're amazing. So I would move to maybe have a little bit more budget money for movies and concerts at the beginning of the season versus halfway through the season. And I think my other thing is, Mayor, I believe this is one of your things when you were campaigning, is we need more garbage cans and cigarette dispensers, because the downtown is dirtier than it should be. And I think people, whether they need a lesson on putting their cigarette butts in the proper receptacles as opposed to dumping them on the street, and the same with the trash, you know, maybe we should just have more things available, receptacles for people. So those would be the things I would ask for in the budget tonight. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dwayne Smith, and I reside at 10163 44th Ave. I just want you to know that I'm one also that's I'm on the kids side, okay? And I would like for you to look inside yourself and to feel what kids are feeling this summer who are not able to attend these summer schools. We so easily want to say what our kids are not, and what they get into and trouble and this and that. But do we do all we can to make sure that we're helping kids of all classes? Now, from what I understand, kids in Area 2 there, while summer school is going on and can't afford to attend summer school because their parents just can't afford it. At the same time, while they see other kids enjoying themselves, they can't go in and use the restroom or get a drink of water, and their kids pay taxes to be able to do this, to keep their building open. I think we as a citizen, we as human beings are better than this. Let's care about underprivileged kids. If being that the summer is still new and fresh, see if we can provide some kind of way to allow underprivileged kids to participate in this school summers program. Please do all you can. I appreciate it.
Mayor.
Yes.
Excuse me, Mr. Smith, for correction, it's not summer school. I think you're talking about summer camp. Yes. Okay, thank you.
My name is Tori Orr. I'm from Pole 7, Northeast 17th Avenue. And my concern as well is Carolyn Sam Center. I was protesting out there yesterday. I had 20 kids with me and 5 parents. And we was out there. Them kids wanted to go in there and play with their friends they know from school. And we had to tell them, well, y'all ain't got enough money to go in there. I want to know why the kids can't interact like they once was with the summer camp when it was hosted at the Carolyn Sam Center. It was always hosted. The community always hosts something, right? They being locked out. What this lady's name is? Amy Blackman. She told a 17-year-old girl with her baby she couldn't go in there and change her diaper. I don't understand that. And y'all, we're not asking to go in there for free because we know it's a paying process. or whatever y'all got for the summer camp. But what the kids are supposed to do from 7 to 4? They can't, what they got, East Health got their summer camp started the same day, so they can't go over there. Because there's a camp over there as well. Where could they go? They ain't got no access to free lunch in District 2, but they got to walk way over to Galaxy and got Poinciana right there. And the kids seen the free lunch pull up. They seen the people unloading food and giving it to other kids, and they like, why they can't get none of it? And this and they and we pay taxes for this center to stay open. Because we wasn't paying taxes on it, y'all have been closed down. If it ain't producing, y'all gonna close it down. You know, I'm very upset right now about Carolyn Sims Center. Why the underprivileged cannot be interacting at that center till 7 to 4. Where they gonna go out at 4 o'clock and it's open till 4 to 5 when they do open for the public. 1 hour. What kind of fun is that? And we voting for putting y'all in these chairs. I'm bringing my voters on. We're going to try to get some of the people out of these chairs up here. That's what I want.
Yeah. Board Member Katz.
Because it's been brought up for a couple of meetings in Rose City and CRA, you know, I feel compelled at this point to kind of speak to it.
Excuse me.
One, I think that I don't know if the solution to allowing access for underprivileged children is to sue a city to prohibit children who can afford to go to the camp. I think that a better solution than threatening to sue us is to hold some sort of fundraiser or solicit contributions to create a scholarship program that would allow for underprivileged students to go there. In looking for a solution...
Excuse me, there's no comments from the
I
audience
did not
right now.
interrupt
If you
you,
continue
and
to
never
speak from the audience, you'll be asked to leave. I'm sorry, Board Member Katz, you may continue.
Thank you. Again, I would recommend trying to set up some sort of fundraiser. I will pledge right now to contribute $1,000 of my own personal money, not community support funds, $1,000 of my personal money, if you go about doing this in a constructive manner. Your solution, the lawsuit that would prohibit paying children from attending a children's summer camp, produces losers. We want a win-win situation. A win-win situation is children who can pay go, children who can't pay are through a charitable donation afforded the opportunity to go, but that doesn't kick kids out of a summer camp. I don't understand how kicking kids out of a summer camp to allow other kids in is a win-win solution. I want to seek a win-win solution. So I would, again, implore you not to sue the city or the CRA, whichever one you intend to, which would only further waste public taxpayer resources while we defend ourselves against a meritless lawsuit, and pursue charitable contributions, of which I, again, will put $1,000 of my own money in. But I just, you know, I've heard this threat looming for weeks and weeks, and if you're determined to go through with it, by all means exercise your rights as an American to file a lawsuit, but I feel like that is not a good solution to this problem. We need to find people who are willing to help these underprivileged children, not attack and punish children who are attending those camps, who I don't imagine are wealthy children. It's $500, I believe, for an entire summer. That's 40 to 50 days of daycare.
5, 7, 8.
So it's approximately $15 a day for round-the-clock daycare. I think there's a better solution than threatening to sue and kick children out of a summer camp. That's my promise, that I will put $1,000 of my own personal money if you go and try to organize some sort of fund that will solicit contributions to either subsidize or pay in full the cost for some of these underprivileged students who live in the community.
Thank you so very much, Commissioner Katz. And if I may be able to speak now in response to that. And that's what I've been asking for, a door to open to try and bring about a solution. It's not about, and I thank you for, committing to contribute $1,000. But when we're talking about 20 regular children from down there that really are the ones that our taxpayers' money and who are showing up at the pool in the center throughout the school months are the ones that are being left out. not the ones who just, shouldn't have the potential right to go freely and access that. We're not trying to kill those who are and can't afford it. But today when I counted, we're talking about 29 white faces, 5 black faces. Go to another group, 18 white faces, 3 black faces. Go to another group, 18 white faces, 2 black faces. So we're saying they're all from Hapalux or West Boynton Beach. And they're not from the heart of Boynton. There's none there. And the whole doors are closed to this community. This has been going on for 8 years. How many children and juvenile now are slinging dope in the streets now? Because they had nowhere to go. Or being treated as an adult in the juvenile judicial system. Because they had nowhere to go. This thing gets real deep. But let me just go this here. I appreciate that. But look, this has been going on for 8 years. It's going to continue going. So you have to, the price. We're not trying to stop there. To open something that's a multi-million-dollar complex. So the community, and even myself, we have that right to go up there, pool tables. It took 3 years to get them together. I like to go. We got computers. And can open it that you have enough staff, hire some more staff. And that way we don't have to interact with those children that's able to pay the 5, 7, 8. But there's still some game rooms in some places that and when they get through playing out there in basketball, they can come in that air-conditioned room, and they can also be able to use the restrooms. Because this is a community park recreation, not a private daycare center ran under summer camp. Because the regulations mean that they can't interact with the public. Hey, baby, our taxpayers pay and maintain this, not the 5, 7, 8, that the 80 people or whatever the limit is that utilize this during the summer and even the spring break week. My child walked across that street as a West Walker. All through the year, he'd go out to that center until I get there. But I'm there at that time. No, why I help all the children. But at any rate, those parents who can't get there on time have that center with great supervisors that watch over them from there to the pool till their parents get there. Now, come summer camp and spring break, they can't do that. We have an officers program doing great with the children. They got a gardener there. I got to go get me some of them collard greens. I'll still tell you that, brother. But at any rate, they don't even have those children there, working with through the school year during the summertime. Where are their kids? In the streets. Man, if this is not serious enough to say, let's just do something about the amount. Because I would like my child to be in summer camp. He's been there 3 straight years. But this year, for some reason, because I'm an advocate, there's been a mix-up. But I don't want to go through no change. I went through that night calls with Amy Blackman, such and such. All I'm saying is this. Leave a door for the public. Even if you have to hire more staff members, there's a door for the public. She suggested we use igloos outside with toilets. Are we animals? I mean, seriously. I can understand her entertain such a thought. What possessed her to entertain such a thought? Why this child can't go in there in that air conditioner to drink cold water. I mean, so I appreciate what you're doing. But this is going to go on 1 year after another. It's been 8 years now since that multi-million-dollar building has been built in the name of Carolyn Sims, who raised me, who raised him, and my wife. So let's try to, but I'm not threatening you. Our lawsuit is on the way. It'll be on a judge. But I don't want this, but you have made us do this, man. This is what it is.
Excuse me. No, your time is up.
Friday. Thank you.
Just to wrap it up, because it definitely sounds like a threat. It definitely sounds like a threat. I could be wrong. But I would suggest, because you are a member of the clergy in Boynton Beach, to work with the coalition of clergy.
I don't work with them, and I'm not part of them. I told you this. I made this.
Excuse me, Mr. Wright, please sit down. You're done speaking.
The solution to this problem is trying to find people willing to contribute funds and donate so these children
Excuse me, would you please leave?
Thank you for your time, Mr. Wright.
All right.
Sorry.
It's okay. Yes, Vice Chair.
I would just like to comment that on the end of this that we can do, maybe we can bring up a conversation about possibly extending summer hours, because on the end of where perhaps the facility only becomes open to the public between 4 and 5, maybe we can extend that to 4 and 7 or something, at least during daylight hours. We can have more staff available so that the individuals of the public can still use the facility after the summer camp hours are through. As a mother who has children in summer camp, I see the dangers of trying to allow for members of the public to be able to engage with individuals who have their children there during the certain time of day and are expecting the safety of their children, or expecting their children to be able to be returned to them safe and sound at the end of the day. So I see the concern about trying to allow for the public to access the facility during the time that individuals are there with their kids, who again are paying. And in comments to the price tag that's placed on that, again, $500 is a very minimal ask, I believe, because I pay way more for my children at the facility that they are attending. So as Commissioner Katz mentioned, I believe it would definitely be something that could be of interest to try to seek out some individuals in the public that would be willing to create some type of scholarship fund to help parents who perhaps can't do that. I think that's something that's a great idea presented by Commissioner Katz. And then again, in addition, as a policy directive, maybe we can look at putting in the budget to extend some of these summer hours for the Carolyn Sims Center in order to allow for members of the public to frequent that location after the hours of the summer camp.
Board Member Casella?
Just a question to the director. He might or might not know. How many children actually participate in this program? Do you know? Do you have those numbers, Mike?
No, sir. Board Member Casella, this is a city-run facility and a city-run program. For the record, we would not have any decision-making power in extending those hours or paying for those extended hours. But I think as a community partner and certainly partner with the city, I understand why the conversation was brought up this evening from the public perspective. But I don't know the details on that, and I see that the city manager has just come in, but I don't know that she would be aware of the amount of attendance there are. Sorry to catch you walking in. It's the attendance in the 80 kids. Yes.
Thank you. Is this something that we can look at when we go over the budget a little bit tonight, that maybe we can move some monies around from different, to help set up some type of a, for lack of a better word, a scholarship program?
If I may.
You may.
The city has a scholarship program for summer camps. Every year when you review the CDBG application, there's at least $10,000 that's placed into that line item budget. There is a comprehensive plan. There is a meeting that Octavia holds every year and invites people to come and talk about things that are needed there. And so I would suggest that the conversation be with the CDBG plan, that maybe there needs to be looked at or prioritized, or some additional funds placed into that to provide some more opportunities.
Thank you, Sherry.
Actually, I think last year when we did the CDBG programming, Sherry, we stopped funding that. The CDBG, that 10,000 ended up going back into more social programs. But we do have summer camp grant program. I'm not familiar on details, but it's administered through Palm Beach County. In fact, I missed the Mr. Wright's comments, but we are. He's in the middle of that application process through the county. We helped him apply. I think he wants to have his grandson in one of our programs, and we're actually, last I heard, holding a spot for him he came in late in the process, so I know staff's working with him to be able to get that scholarship to have his grandson in there. But
is this program, is that something we can promote or market some more so more people know about this? Because this is the first I'm hearing about it.
It's blown out and spent. Within the first week, we offer the programs. Their programs fill immediately. It's I think I don't know if this is before or after the grant. I didn't anticipate this, but I think it's $500 for the entire summer for children to attend our camps, which is unheard of. I mean, we are probably the chair should know, with 2 small children.
How are the applicants chosen from this grant? Like first in, first applied?
I honestly don't know. I could get that for you and get Wally to send you guys something tomorrow.
Appreciate that.
But yeah, it's first come, first serve, most definitely. I know it's a mixture of residents and non-residents. I don't know if we reserve so many for resident. I don't have the top of my head, but I can certainly find out for you.
And I guess for the next city commission meeting, talking about the free lunches, where can we find them in Boynton Beach? Talking about, see if we can get someone from Children's Service Council or Literacy Coalition, which are located within the city of Boynton Beach, to help with the programming for the children. Is that something that you can do to reach out to see if someone?
Sure, see what they have. I know we do something at the centers or used to. So let me find out. I just need to touch base
the
with
question is that we need to have kind of what Board Member Katz said, that we need to have an agency or organization to help because the city can't do all of this
No, we
alone.
can't. Right.
And we do have children organizations in this city that we can work with, and, you know, inviting the Coalition of Clergy and the other churches and other neighborhoods to be involved, I think is a discussion that we need to have at the next city commission meeting.
This is actually a great opportunity for our local churches to help
Yeah.
out. That's where it really needs to be, honestly.
Okay. All right. And Board Member McCray?
Thank you. Since this is going to be discussed again at our commission meeting, Lori, yes, you do need to have Wally here, Amy here, whoever's running that program, so when it comes up, we will have direct dialogue, and they will be able to answer the questions, Mr. Wright concerns, or any other concerns from any other citizens, so that we will have, firsthand. Thank you.
Yes. Board Member Katz, then Vice Chair.
And I'll also look into, through my work at the school district, to find out what schools, specifically in Boynton, provide not just free lunch, but free breakfast. Most schools in Palm Beach County, you don't even have to be a student. If you're of a certain age, under a
18
certain
and under.
age,
18 and under.
you can show up and get a free breakfast and a free lunch every single day all summer. So I'll look into which schools specifically in Boynton have that program, but it's a federally subsidized program to allow for students over the summer who need help, acquiring food and things like that, to be able to give it for free.
Yes, Vice Chair.
Commissioner Katz stole the very words from my mouth, but that is exactly what I was going to share, that every single school in Palm Beach County, all of them, it doesn't matter, as long as the student is 18 and under. 18 and under, they can go. They don't have to be a registered student. They don't even have to be from Palm Beach County. As long as they just show up, no questions asked, they can go and get free breakfast. I'm not sure if lunch is provided, but I know for sure breakfast is provided at all Palm Beach County schools. And again, I want to reemphasize the conversation that I'd like to have, the city manager, while you sit here, is to see if the possibility of opening up the center for a few more hours in the summer could be something that could be discussed, and how much that would be a cost fiscally wise, because maybe that would again help to appease some of these individuals who just feel that they're not be able to access the facilities to extend those hours over the summer, since kids are out and they would maybe have a place to go as that center opens up. So I'd like to have that conversation and get some proposals financially of how much that would look like for us on that end. Thank you.
Any further comments for public comments? Seeing none, moving on to consent agenda. Would anyone like to pull an item for our consent agenda?
Yes.
Yes.
I'd like to pull D, E, F, G, H, and I.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes. Board Member Cray, would you like to begin with item D?
Right. I'd like those the applicants here for D, E, F, and G. And you? Right. My question is, first of all, I went to the address, it's Treasure Chest, and I didn't know, Ms. Gertman, they don't own it anymore?
Currently owns it. She currently owns
You
it.
need
My
to
name
give
is
your name.
Octavia Bell. I'm sorry. The daughter, Claire Gertman Gale, she's currently operating the Treasure Chest. So she's turning over ownership to us, and we'll have a new name, the King's Learning Center.
I just want to say to you all, it's nothing against the program that you all are doing.
Okay.
I just want to say thanks for stepping up to the plate.
Okay.
Okay, to let that center continue to go on. I'm just saying, we heard tonight that we need more things for the children here in Boynton, and I do applaud you. I appreciate you all. I even appreciate you all for taking that playground equipment and putting it over the fence.
See that?
Yeah, I seen that. Yeah, I said,
yesterday.
wow, they're not wasting any time. But my whole thing is that I'm just saying, this is what we're talking about, partnering with the community,
Right.
giving back to where it is needed. We heard people talking about, what are you doing here in this community? You all have stepped up to the plate, and I just want to tell you that I wish you well. I wish you well, because our kids, the younger ones, we don't want them to feel neglected, and by you all doing that to help us out, I appreciate that.
Yes, Vice Chair.
Commissioner, may I?
My name is Bruce Lewis. I'm the business manager for these young ladies who have been working very diligently for the last year and a half to come up with a carefully planned out program and operation for that location. We appreciate the city for assisting our small business and getting started. We're looking forward to being an active part and a good corporate citizen in that community. And you're right, one of the things I'd like to mention of interest is that one of our programs that I'm fond of is a program that involves the engagement of the parents as a prerequisite. So now the parents are going to be engaged in some of our programming elements, and we just look forward to being a part of the business community here. Thank you.
Yes, Vice Chair.
For those in the crowd who may not know what it is that your business will be doing, can you please share briefly?
May I speak?
Yep. Can you say your name?
Ambry King. What we're trying to, the name of the center, I don't want to say daycare because I want to say center, it will be the King's Learning Center. And what we're going to do, we're going to have infants, toddlers, and school age. So we'll pick up 2 from elementary schools for aftercare. We also will run our summer camp as well. And I heard today, some of the concerns with, the summer program. I would like to partner up with the city as well to maybe we can come to something to allow the kids to come in, even at our center, to have breakfast and lunch. I'm willing and I'm open to all types of ideas. I've been in the child care field for so long, and it's a passion for me to try to change stuff that has been going on. I really feel like no kid should be left behind. And I just want to find different tools to where we get parents involved, more involved with their kids, and just to know that, everyone has a chance. And I just want to do something different with the community. I was raised and born in Boynton Beach. I go to Bible Church of God, which is on Seacrest, so this is my community, and I want to help it.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Thank you. The reason I really got concerned was I remember the address, and I went in and talked to Shut, and I told her, I said, look, I need a copy of those applications. And the reason I wanted was I wanted to find out who was the people on those applications that signed those applications. Octavia, I see your name. Amber, I see your name. And I just want to meet y'all face to face and say, wow, y'all crazy. I'm just saying, and like we heard people saying tonight, that we need more things in the community. I'm tired of seeing things closed. Thank you for keeping it open, Mayor. With that, I'd like to go ahead and say I offer a motion that we approve D, E, F, and G.
Second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes unanimously. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Moving on to items H and I.
Yeah, I had this full. I need anybody here from Grandma's, whatever this is, Grandma's Manufacturer? Treasures?
Yeah.
Where says Grandma's Manufacturer there? Where do you see Treasure? That's on the other end, DBA. Yeah, okay, that's on the agenda too. Somebody's, there's Grandma. Okay, hi, Grandma.
One day, hopefully. Hi. Good evening, everyone. My name is Nadine Haseidel, CEO of Grandma's Treasures, or Grandma's Manufacturer LLC is the legal entity. The DBA is Grandma's Treasures, and I changed it. Yeah, I'm very, very happy to stand here again for the other 2 programs the CRA offers, and I hope will get approved. So we are an authentic German bakery. It will be not just a bakery, it will be as well a restaurant. We will have between 50 to 79 seatings located on Federal Highway, facing Federal. It will be, hopefully a place where you just not go for a dinner. We will serve brunches, lunch, and breakfast. We hope to become a very strong partner in the community, as well as I always was happy to participate in Thanksgiving food runs, and as I heard a little bit about summer camps and kids. We would love to give something back to the community, and would like to participate in any way we can. And we are planning on being open by latest fall, and we would love to see everyone for a Boynton Beach Oktoberfest, and hope to get probably some help at that point as well to spread the word a little bit. And yeah, we are definitely very, very much excited.
The board member. McCray, then Casella.
Casella, go first.
Okay.
Just quick question. How many people do you employ?
At this point, we are working out of the Community Caring Center from Sherry, and I'm working with two lovely people. And Sherry was always very, very helpful in any step of my business, so I want to say thank you since we're all here at that point as well. It will be like the staff I definitely have interviewed and planning to go with will be between 10 to 15 people, as there will be obviously shifts. We will need everybody hands on deck from the dishwasher over servers, so there will be definitely lots of jobs to give.
Wish you best of luck.
Mm-hmm.
Board member McCray.
Thank you, Chair. I thank you for coming out and explaining what grandma treasures were, because I kept saying, I said, well, God, I thought it was going to be like antiques. I really did. I'm like saying, what are they putting it in there for? And why? You know, but it's going to be food.
It's going to be good food.
Nothing old. I just want to make sure. With that being said, Mayor, motion to approve H and I, please.
Thank you. We have a further discussion, Vice Chair.
Just a point of clarification, is this a product of Sherry's program? Absolutely, Sherry. Well, I just wanted to bring that up just to commend you again on what you're doing and the living product of the fact that you're working and allowing for people to start and open businesses and create jobs and continue the entrepreneurial spirit here in Boynton Beach. So thank you, and thank you.
Thank you.
Nadine, also is you're making the bread and other items for the farmer's table in Boca, correct?
That is correct, yes. Yes, farmer's table in Boca. We started with them about 2.5 years ago, and they've been a big supporter of my business, and there was basically only growth. They just opened their new summer menu and got more products of ours on the menu, which obviously we are very, very happy to see that, to spread the word for my company.
No further discussion. All those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to old business, item A.
I think you need a motion to approve the things you didn't pull.
Oh,
The
thank
consent.
you. May I have a motion to remove the remaining items on the consent agenda? All
Motion
those.
to approve?
Yep, got it. All those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to old business, item A, consideration of the rental agreement with the Boynton Women's Club for full year 2018-19 meeting dates at the Historic Women's Club of Boynton Beach.
Yes, board members, this item is before you as a result of us purchasing the Historic Women's Club of Boynton Beach. The women were given the opportunity to continue with their monthly meetings, and they are here before you this evening to continue forward holding those meetings of approximately and not to exceed 60 people between 8:30 a.m. and 5:30 p.m. With no alcohol service. Additionally, they did not do the gala event that you had provided to them free of rental charge, not some of the other cleaning charges and what have you, but the actual rental. They are requesting that you move. They did not hold that event, and they would like to move that event forward into the fiscal year 18-19. So that would come forward with the agreement as well.
Any discussion from the board? All right. Any Comments from I guess, the Boynton Women's Club regarding anything to change? No. Seeing none, may I have a motion to approve?
Okay.
All those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Yes.
Michael, just a quick, are we got a marketing plan for that, the Women's Club yet, as far as what our intent to use it for?
Yes, we have discussed that as staff. Now that we know that the library is not going to be going there, we do have some major roof repairs going into this summer. We'll begin kind of heavily marketing it as a venue for rental, kind of toward the middle to the end of summer, so we can hit the fall and the spring, and then summer weddings next year.
Thank you.
Moving on to item B, consideration of Boynton Village LLC compliance audit.
Removed from the table.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Item is removed from the table. Tara, would you like to begin?
Yeah, I think it's summarized well here. From a legal perspective, we went back and looked at the issue that was raised at the last meeting. There was some ambiguity there, and from our analysis and in conjunction with Vicky's analysis, we came to a figure which I believe is here in your agenda at $73,611. We communicated with Cornerstone about our findings, and they agree with them, and so the item before you is mutually agreed upon by legal staff, financial staff, and Cornerstone.
So do I need a motion to approve the $73,611?
Yes. We do. Motion to approve.
Second. Any discussion from the board? Seeing none, all those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to item C, project update 211 East Ocean Avenue, a.k.a. Magnuson House.
Excuse me, Mayor, if I could, the attorney for Shovel Ready is held up.
Excuse me, no, you may not. You know, we will let you know when we have public comments.
I just want to let you know their attorney is
Excuse
held
me.
up. Okay.
Yes.
At the last meeting, we notified the board that as legal counsel, we had issued a notice of default and a demand for return of the property under the reverter clause of the purchase and sale agreement for 211. Because pursuant to the addendum that was agreed upon, they did not obtain a building permit as required on May 14th. We issued our notice letter on May 15th, which requires them to provide the deed to us on June 14th. After issuance of that letter, we received communication from Shovel Ready's attorney. A meeting was requested, which Mike and I attended. We explained that at this point they are in default of the agreement, and neither myself nor Mr. Simon were in a position to change the legal direction that has been started with our letter. At this point before you is a determination on how to move forward. You have a number of options. In your agenda backup is an email communication from Mr. Carney, which I believe proposes some settlement to the issue. Under the terms of the reverter, the CRA is to pay back the purchase price originally paid. Shovel Ready is asking for other alternatives which you can discuss. From a legal perspective, we feel comfortable as your legal counsel on our legal right to demand the reverter and that they are not in compliance with the agreement. They had issued a letter challenging that assessment. I disagree with their legal findings. So at this point, the issues before the board and the issue to determine is, do you want to direct me as your legal counsel to institute legal proceedings to get the property back pursuant to the agreement, or would you like to waive the default and work with Shovel Ready in the ways that they have proposed or in some other fashion?
All right, Mr. Katz, would you like to address the board?
The only thing I want to tell you is that Mr. Carney is held up, and that I was going to ask you to hold off on this item until he got here. That's the only reason I was coming up. So that's up to you.
Board Member Katz?
I see no reason not to proceed. I think that for what it's worth, no one from that team needs to show up. They stood here before this commission 1 month ago and swore and then signed a document that said that they would not pursue or force legal action as a result of a potential default, which they subsequently and days later entered into by not filling out permits that they stood here and said would be done within days. And now we get a series of emails, a meeting at the CRA, essentially saying, well, we spent $50,000 on plans for this. Even though we have not complied with any provisions of the contract, we have asked for numerous amendments. We stood here and swore that we would not force legal ramifications if they did not comply with it. I don't need to hear from their lawyer. I don't need to hear from Tom Carney. If they come in here, and I said this as emphatically as I could last time, and it was a little more colorful last time because they hadn't violated the very thing I suspected they would, but now they have. No. Why would we pay them a penny? They signed an agreement, they asked for numerous amendments, and in the most recent amendment, they said that they would not force this into a lawsuit. And here we are, posed with the exact question I said I did not want to engage in. I'll say it as strongly as I can. It's litigation extortion. They're trying to wash their hands of the money that they spent because they failed to comply with the contract. And I think that if the CRA entered into a contract with somebody and we failed to comply and then said, you know what, just let us wash our hands, you cover all of our sunk costs, we would be laughed at. So it's offensive to me that we're even having this discussion. I said as much last month, and I would entertain a motion. I guess we don't have to make a motion. The contract is in default. We've sent them papers. We're at a good point right now. They have a sworn document in a contract that they agreed to that they would not do what they're about to do. So I think that we should just move on from it.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? Yes, Board Member McCray.
I would like to hear from the attorney, Mr. Carney. He just came in. I'm just saying, I'm one person and I want to hear what he has to say.
Carney, would you please approach the podium to the left? So you can come down here, but we have our laptop and our...
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. My name is Tom Carney. Nice to be with you. While I understand Commissioner Katz's issue, we did enter into this contract with good faith. We're still trying to proceed in good faith. There were a lot of glitches along the way. I understand that there is some issue with respect to, whether we thought staff was slow and whether there were too many revolving, people with respect to reviewers. We were ready, willing, and able to pay the money for the permit fee. There was a delay by a day because of issues because someone was out of the country. And we were then advised that if we had paid the permit fee, it's non-refundable. So meanwhile, we get a letter from you all. So if I had gone in and paid the permit fee that next day, and you had decided, too bad, then not only do I lose not only is the property, the deal gone, but also my permit fee's gone. Because you don't work in sync. You are a separate body, and it is a non-refundable fee. When you apply for a permit, it's non-refundable in this town. So we said, fine, we would wait to come here. We sent to your council and to Mr. Simon what we thought we would be prepared to do to go forward. I understand that you have some issues with that, but it's not as though we haven't spent money on this project. We came in and we had to shore up the floor to recreate some supports in the floor. So we have been doing certain things. Yes, there were some delays, but we are trying to move forward here. And to suggest, I hear some language that would suggest that we were somehow not acting here in good faith, which is just erroneous. And our goal here isn't to do battle with the CRA. Our goal here is to try to develop a project that the city and the CRA would be especially proud of. So I understand there's some timing delays. All cities have timing delays. I've sat in other boards in other cities, and there's always timing delays. The question is, do you want a project done, and do you want the quality people to do it, or not? And so I came back with several proposals, saying, look, if you don't want us to do it, then just fine, we'll leave. But we would certainly like the money that we've paid to have the plans developed, to have the floors re-supported in the areas they need to do that. Anybody would have to do that. Or we would like to go forward, and we would just ask, instead of the 8-month completion period, 12 months completion period, because we want to do it right. When I point out that, at the same night that we did this, we first got the contract, there was another contract that was also awarded that night in the 500 block, which is still vacant. So
I would just that, because if we had the power to take that property back, I would have done it too, because you're right, it's embarrassing that it's still vacant.
But we're still appearing in front of you in good faith. We're still moving forward with our plans.
They have put hundreds of thousands of dollars. It is clear that they've made renovations. That place is ready to open. I don't know what their deal is or why they haven't filled it, but I understand that the proximity and the timing have been coincidental, that both of the properties were, granted to the two individuals at that same time, but otherwise it's day and night as to what they've done and what's not been done with regards to 211.
And I'm not arguing that point. I'm arguing is the issue is to get an up and running operation that's going to be a success and a credit to that neighborhood and to the city. That's what we're trying to do. We have quality people, we have great developers, we've got great restaurateurs, and yes, we had some delays. But it's not as though we haven't, to suggest that we haven't put any money into this project or time into this project is just incorrect.
Stated that you spent $50,000. That's what you're asking.
Actually, no, we spent about $70,000. I'm asking for 50, but if you'd like to raise it to 70, that would be great.
I was hoping that in the spirit of not engaging in kind of combat, as you articulated earlier, that you would simply return the property in accordance with the agreement that you signed 1 month ago, and we could avoid all this. So I guess I'm looking in a different direction, I suppose.
Well, 2 months ago, and I agree with you, but our point was that we have spent the money. Whoever takes that project over is going to be the beneficiary of the work that we have done. And if they're going to try to move quickly into the project, we've already got the building plan. We spent a lot of time with this builder, this architect. By the way, the same architect did that other project, I understand. So we're trying to move forward here. And we're at your mercy, of course, but I mean, we're a good operation. My clients are good people. So, but if you don't want us, then I would at least like to get what we have. Not even, as I said, it's not even 100% what we have into it.
Okay, Board Member McCrae.
Thank you, Mr. Carney. While we have you here, I asked.
It's always dangerous when somebody says that. I get nervous.
No. You're not dangerous. I'm just saying. I looked and seen what were some of the problems about why this wasn't done, that wasn't done. That's why I asked for a record. So I went back and looked. And my take is that you're already you're on the way. Are you willing to pay the fee tonight? I'm just saying. Can you pay the fee?
We're prepared to pay the fee, sure.
Okay, let me ask another question.
We're prepared to move forward. If we can get 8 months as opposed to 12, we get 12 months instead of 8 months.
Okay, let me finish. All right, if you pay the fees and we grant you the 12 months, and I'm just saying that if you don't meet the deadlines and everything within those 12 months, I'm just saying then you can walk away from the table.
I would say that we have very little bargaining chips left at that point. Don't you agree, Commissioner?
Sure.
I mean, if we don't complete the project at that point, then that really is on us. No, I say that taking advantage, if there's some force majeure that I don't know about, a hurricane comes in and does all the stuff and delays us a lot, I would hope that we would be granted some, stay of the tolling of that time, provided we genuinely could not, continue the progress of the construction.
Okay, if we grant, tonight what you're requested, when will we see somebody over on that property doing something like? I'm just trying to see.
As I said, we were prepared. We have already submitted the paperwork. We have just not paid for the permit has not been issued because it was, as I said, it was non-refundable, and I really thought it was probably ill-advised to do a non-refundable fee when I was unsure as to whether or not we were going to move forward or not.
Mr. Carney, let me ask another question. If you pay the fee tomorrow, which would be Wednesday.
So could you give me a couple extra days? Everyone's out of time. I'm the only one here, so I can't write you the check myself, but I can certainly get it done within 48 hours.
Let's delay it a couple more days.
No, well, Commissioner, to be fair, I mean,
Well,
I'm just the lawyer, the lowly lawyer.
I understand you are the lawyer. That's why I'm trying to, I'm just saying if you pay it
Monday. The answer is yes. We would pay it in due course, or in the next day or two, yes.
All right, if you pay that, then when can we see some activity on the property?
as soon as the permit is issued, I mean, we're under the gun at that point. Right? You know, we'll progress. You know, I'm not the builder, but I mean, their goal is to get it done. If they're, I assure you, once they have to outlay the permit fee, they're not going to sit and do nothing.
All right, let me ask staff, because staff is here, you know. Staff?
Michael. And Board Member McCray, if you're asking if you know their name, you please.
Pardon me?
If you know that you're speaking to Michael.
Oh, well,
Yeah,
man,
Mr.
look,
Rump, you know.
I'm almost 70 years old. I'm just saying, you should have been looking up.
You know.
Thank you. Well, thanks for coming down. Let me ask the question. I'm just saying, if he paid the money, how fast would you all give him a permit?
Well, as I heard that question come up, I was getting ready to text the billing official because I thought the permit was ready. Staff was basically working all day, exaggerating around the clock, but we had assigned a particular person to work with it, to be the liaison, to make sure everything got done. If it did not get issued, it's not because of staff's problems. But I believe that it was ready to be permitted.
On the 9th.
So you're saying that if they give you a check, you can give them a permit?
Yes, I believe all the conditions have been met.
Okay.
As they could have on May 9th.
I understand.
Thank you. That's where I stand.
Okay.
Thank
Board
you.
Member Costello?
I find it ironic you were even delayed coming to this meeting because that whole project's been delayed for years.
I have, you know,
Two years
Excuse me,
ago,
Mr. Carney.
2 years ago,
Let him-
we, in good faith, turned that building over to your client. It was supposed to be a catalyst to help us promote the encouragement of building in this particular area. There's been nothing but an eyesore. In fact, it's been a anchor in this area here. We've had 2 hurricanes. The building was never secured. Your client had to be told to cut the grass. It's not that we don't want you. I don't think you want us. It's deplorable on the treatment, how you've treated this whole procedure the last 2 years. And now you're asking, well, give me a couple more. It's always delayed, kick the can down the road with you and your client. I'm prepared tonight to cut our ties with you and let's move on.
Sure, do you have any comments?
Sure. I'm of the opinion that, from what I'm hearing of this board, that there is some faith that's been lost in the organization that is currently holding this property. I am willing to offer a motion that we move on the second offer made by the Tom Carney and your organization here to actually move forward. But what I would like to present is, rather than the $50,000, I would like to have the hard costs be covered up to not exceeding $50,000. So that's not staff time, that's not billable hours, it's hard costs. So that means plans, that means et cetera, whatever that may be. And that would be as per language crafted by our CRA attorney here. But that's what I would be willing to offer a motion on, that we enact the reverter clause with the agreement that we would be ready to cover hard costs, verifiable hard costs, up to not exceeding $50,000. That is my motion.
What my comments were regarding this is that, you know, this project was selected before I came into office. You know, we approved the site plan, I think, in May, or, you know, in 2016 the site plan was approved. You know, moving forward, you know, the whole, we're very different than we were in 2016 because the parking lot that where the place where you guys were going to park isn't going to be a parking lot. You know, we're going to have to build a parking garage. So even if you were open in 12 months, we may not have a place for any of your patrons to be, because we're going to be in development for the next 3 to 5 years. You know, I am with the vice chair regarding the costs associated with it. Like you said, you had over $70,000 in costs. If you can just say, hey, you know, this is how much we spent on attorneys, architects, engineers, site plans, surveys, and you can, you know, provide us with that information, I feel that that is a equal exchange, so that, you know, CRE is benefiting from those plans and that work that is done, and that way your client isn't out the $50,000 with because of the good faith that he put in to spend that money. it's always sad that, after this amount of time, we're coming up with the same position that we were in. However, we are, I feel as the CRA, we're not in the same position because we are able to do something more because of the future land use is mixed-use medium, where at the time, it wasn't. It was just commercial. And so, the fact that we can build up to 75 feet on that lot if we work with the adjoining owners, I feel that that is going to be better for the downtown and all. And so I'm with the vice chair regarding the 50,000 with whether, with the, I guess are you okay with what I said for hard costs, vice chair?
Yes, that's what I said initially. Anyway.
And so I'm willing to move forward because, I know as an attorney, we're your client isn't going just to say I'm going to hand over, the property without, because after spending the $50,000, you said that the legal arguments regarding equity, and you put equity into it. And so if we can get the equity out of that argument, then we can all move forward and, actually, and have a better downtown because of that. And so that is where I'm standing. And I have Board Member Katz followed by Casella.
I personally can't support that, and I'll explain. One, I think that the vice chair was correct that I have lost faith. We're sitting up here talking about one option, extending more time. If you give us more time, we'll do this, but maybe we need a little extra time. Instead of 8 months, it's 12 months. It's more of the same. And this is exactly what I said at the last meeting, that last meeting was more of the same. So this is more of the same, and it's gotten to a point of absurdity, only accentuated again by what Board Member Casella said, that the lateness to the meeting, ironic. With regards to the costs that might come from litigation, it's my understanding that if we prevail, that they would have to pay us back those costs. And correct me if I'm wrong on that. A contract was signed. It was amended multiple times to try to accommodate what has been stated by staff as the owner's problems. Staff dedicated an employee to ensure after that meeting that this would get done, and it was done on the city side. And there's passing references to, maybe it was the staff, maybe it was us. No, the staff just stood up here and spoke. One of our top personnel in the city, who is respected and does his job, said that we have done everything humanly possible. And to potentially buy somebody out, anybody, and this isn't personal, if there was anyone else up here, I'd be saying the same thing. I do not believe that a $50,000 taxpayer participation trophy for a team that failed to win and do what they were supposed to do is acceptable. We have a contract that says they have to give this property back at cost. Why are we negotiating when we have a contract that says we are in the right? We're negotiating against ourselves on behalf of the taxpayers. We're in here talking about trying to provide subsidies to underprivileged children to attend a camp. This is $50,000. I pledged to give $1,000. This is 50 times that. This is absurd that we have a contract explicitly stating, I'm not summarizing or paraphrasing, it said if those permits were not paid for, the property would be reverted. Period. End of sentence. It was signed by one of your team members, and it's absurd to me that as a body who voted 5-0 to approve that amended contract is now negotiating against ourselves to give away upwards of $50,000. I fully understand that all sorts of things happened and it didn't turn out the way we wanted, but this property is ours. Legally, we are entitled to take it back at the cost that we sold it to, which, I might add, is much lower than actual market value since we instituted a consolidated plan. So the deal was already cooked in that this was a great buy for the owner. I don't understand how we're negotiating against ourselves to throw away, to burn in a dumpster, $50,000. How many kids could attend that camp? That could pay for an additional employee that could keep that facility open the extended time that was requested earlier. That is just, I'm blown away, and I wish at the time that we voted to include that provision in the amended contract last meeting that they would have to not pursue litigation or force us into pursuing litigation I wish people would have said they don't agree with it, because we voted 5-0 to agree to that. The client signed it, the owner signed it. I don't understand what's happening right now. We are voting to throw away $50,000 when we don't have to. I don't understand what's happening.
So the order is Board Member Casello, Vice Chair, and then Board Member McCray. No. So Board Member Casello, would you like to begin?
Yes, Board Chair. I would just come back to what, on your words there, and Mr. Carney's words, where you've got 50,000. You said that you did some plans. You shored up the floor, correct? And what are some of the other things that is $50,000 cost?
I don't have all of the...
You don't have any of
all
that
the cost
information?
figures with me. I mean, building plans are not cheap, and I think anyone who is involved in
Well, how can
construction-
you be in front of us and say 50,000?
I didn't. I said 70. I said, when I wrote you
Well,
the
let's
letter,
make
I
it 170. Let's round it off to 100,000.
I don't want to argue.
Okay, but what you're saying, Mayor, is that with the comprehensive plan, with the rezoning and all that we've done in the area now, in your own words, we could put up to, if our so desired, 74. The truth of the matter is that this building either is going to be demolished or moved. It's going to be either or. And those plans that we're paying $50,000 for are become moot. They're not going to go to the next site with them. It's going to have to be all redrawn and redone. So they're not going to help us in any form, shape.
Okay.
So my point is they're useless to us. Let's consider that.
Okay. Vice Chair?
I'll re-emphasize what I said. I said that I am prepared to cover the hard costs. So again, that would be something that could be negotiated with our CRA attorney to put clearer into terms what that would necessarily mean or what that would engage. I'm not necessarily ready to pay for staff time. I'm not ready to pay for billable hours. I am ready to pay for the cost of shoring up the floor, because that was a physical hard cost that the current owner incurred in order to maintain the viability of the facility. Even if we do move that facility after we reacquire this area, that's still hard costs that they incurred while having current ownership of the building. So again, I'm 100% in agreement with Commissioner Katz's comments. The current owner had lots of opportunities to really move forward and get things done. Unfortunately, this is where we are, but I believe this is the best time to make good with what we have and just kind of wash everyone's hands clean of this and just move forward, rather than having to go into whatever may come as a result of this, whether that may be lawsuits or whatnot. And again, even if we are in the right with the language that's been crafted with our reverter clause, the focus of our CRA and our city should be on town square and on downtown, which is a $250 million project that we've allocated so many city resources and outside resources, time and money to do. That's where I want our focus to be, not on fighting a lawsuit, regardless of whether or not we're in the right for it. I'd rather just be done with this and move on and let everybody just kind of let this die down. Our time should not be spent on trying to litigate this. And if we have an out and we can have verifiable hard costs just be paid in order to kind of wash our hands of this, I'd rather do that. I believe our taxpayers would be in support of that. That way we can actually use that property to do something beneficial for the downtown process, or the downtown project, which is what all of our focus is on right now for the next 2 to 3 years. So that is the opinion that I stand on. I'm not in a disagreement with Commissioner Kastner or Commissioner Casello in your emotion towards these owners, but again, I'm of the opinion I'd rather just kind of do a swift process and end this, rather than having to go into a long, just drawn out litigation process in order to just prove that we were right. Yes, we were right, but at the same time, it's not right for us to bypass a opportunity that could be quick and clean, rather than get into this and be just messy and dirty with it.
Board Member McCray, followed by Board Member Katz.
Thank you. My take is that Board Member Katz keeps saying about $50,000 for summer camp. The $50,000, we cannot use that money. Somebody straighten me if I'm wrong. Should pay for summer camp from the CRA fund. Am I correct?
Michael?
Tara and I were discussing that earlier, and my gut reaction, I'd like to substantiate it statutorily. With regard to staff for a city facility, I think is borderline at best, but rather than do that on the dais, I'd prefer to provide that with you at the next meeting.
Right. My point is, I don't want that to go out saying that we could have done that when we cannot do that. And I need to call back Mike again. Because I think you said something that I need clarification on. And I think you said that the staff worked all day today to get the plans ready. Refresh me. What did you say?
Well, let me interpret what that means. Number one, we dedicated one of the plans reviewers to be a liaison to the project. They were responsible for seeking out each individual who had comments, linking them up with the applicant when those meetings were held in the department, and basically getting the comments met, whatever had to be done, getting the plans amended, getting interpretations of the comments if necessary, and just putting it as a priority. If you understand our process, a plan would come in, it would be put into the box, it would go through a sequence, if you will, of review. Instead, it came right to the liaison. The liaison followed up with the respective reviewers to review the plans, to review the changes that were submitted by the applicant, and manually process that through, expeditiously.
And that wasn't completed today. This is what I'm trying to find out from you.
And that was a month ago? I don't know when that was. That was
during the month of April and the first week of May.
Yeah, so I mean, there was a week or so, shortly I think after one of the meetings when the deadline was really reinforced, we went into high gear, assigned a liaison, and reviewed it as expeditiously as we could. As soon as the plans came in, they were reviewed. They were not put into a stack.
That's what I need to hear, because what I heard the first time sounded like you said that they was reviewed and then that they can go out. I just want to make sure I'm clear. Okay, you cleared it up for me. Thank you.
From Katz, I think we're going to ask for final comments, starting with you, if you're okay with that.
Yeah, I will read.
You
say starting with me?
No, if Mr. Carney wants to have his final comments before
Sorry, I'm into this.
I'll defer to the.
I was gonna, basically, I think what we should do is, have us speak, then you'll have final comments, and we'll have entertain a motion.
Okay.
So, Board Member Katz, would you like to begin?
Sure. I'll simply read the provision that was inserted to the last amendment made to this contract. The purchaser shall waive its right to contest reversion of the property if it does not obtain a building permit on or before May 14, 2018, and shall execute the deed as described above. There may be a difference in opinion on the legal interpretation of the purchaser shall waive their right if they don't do something, but it seems like some of the clearest language I've ever seen in my life. You had a deadline to do something. It was an extended deadline already. You failed to comply with that. To Board Member McCrae's point well taken, maybe it could not be used explicitly for the children's camp, but it could be used to move this building if we so choose, because that will cost tens of thousands of dollars. It could go to Robert E. Wells Day, which was a request made earlier by a resident. It could go to other businesses that are trying to acquire economic development grants to open up and create jobs in the community. If I had the time, I could list 100 things that it could go to that would be more beneficial than buying out a private organization that failed to agree or failed to live up to the agreement in the contract. Again, we are negotiating with ourselves how much money to waste that we don't have to, and I think it projects weakness from this board that we got a private company to enter into a contract and they have violated it on its face. No interpretation. I have no problem taking this to court if need be, even though I think it's a disgrace that it will come to that, because it is explicit that the party said that they would simply give the property back at the cost that we originally took from them when they purchased it. I'm baffled that we are negotiating how much money we want to waste to provide a participation trophy to an entity that in the free market exercised their right to enter into a business venture, did not live up to the expectations, and in this instance have failed. In spite of many other successes, I don't take anything away from the history of any of the individuals involved. This instance, they have failed to comply. I just, we're burning whatever it is, 10, 20, 50,000. We're burning it in a dumpster, and it could be used for so much more. We have language right here. I will read it again and then shut my mouth. The purchaser shall waive its right to contest reversion of the property if it does not obtain a building permit on or before May 14, 2018, and shall execute the deed as described. It is, I could not be more emphatic. I do not support any money. I think that they should honor their agreement. They should return the property, and we should proceed with some form of RFP or what other method we come up with to advertise the property to allow somebody to actually develop it.
So, Tara, moving forward with that option, can you explain, what you would need if, or what is, tell me the outcomes that could happen in the worst case scenario. Best case scenario, they deed the property to us tomorrow.
Correct. Worst case scenario is we would need to institute the appropriate legal actions. We would seek expeditious resolve of that through motion practice before it went to hearing or went into deep discovery, because it would be our argument that it's clear on the face. However, if they contested it vigorously through a lot of discovery at us, that would raise costs. Our costs would be linked to how much cost they wanted to put into the fight. And unfortunately, I can never sit up here and tell you that we will win, because I'm not the judge who is making that decision. I'm confident in our legal position. I'm confident in the advice I've given regarding that. But of course, I can't guarantee victory. So did I answer your question?
And then the other aspect of it is that, if we are able to win under motion practice, summary judgment versus trial, that there's the questions of fact. What are the actual costs that we would have to motion into a legal fund?
If it became an issue of fact that had to go to hearing, there would be attorneys' costs and staff time. So cost of staff being available for being a witness, Mr. Ruff specifically, in response to discovery requests, et cetera, which is all costs to the CRA.
How much? Well, that's the thing. We need to put this money into a fund, unless we have the money already as a line item, which I don't believe we do.
I don't, from the top of my mind, and maybe Mike or Vicki are quicker than me, know what the legal line item is, so I can't answer that, but we do have a legal line item. I don't think we hit that mark ever, but notwithstanding that, initial complaint filing, it would take 2 to 5 hours or less, and then motion practice. So I'm saying if it went quickly, I would estimate it would be $5,000 to $10,000. If it was litigated vigorously, that starts to rise exponentially. And there is an attorney's fee provision for the prevailing party.
Okay.
Did I?
All right. Any further final comments from the board? Or
I just wanted to say I believe that Vice Chair Romulus has a motion on the floor. I'm not sure we had a second. So just
correct. We have not had a second. So.
Tara, if you could just
Vice Chair,
clarify for me what would be hard costs verifiable that would be ascertained by you.
Well, what I would propose if the board wanted to move forward with that is that the shovel ready would provide us, staff and I, a list of costs. We would work with them and negotiate them with them and bring them back for you to determine what is verifiable costs, so that there isn't any confusion about it. There's hard costs of transacting it and printing the documents and all of that, of the improvements made to the structure, which I know is one of the things you covered. There's also professional fees, which I was unclear from your all direction on whether that would be inclusive of what you would be willing to cover. But I would propose that we articulate that very clearly and that they provide evidence of it prior to moving forward. I would note that entertaining the motion on the floor by Vice Chair does not waive our right to enforce the agreement until we amend the agreement, which I wouldn't recommend doing tonight or directing me to do. Even if we consider this, there's a no waiver provision, which means if we try to work this out and it doesn't work out, we can still pursue legal action for the default, for their failure to provide the deed to us as required, which they're due to provide to us on June 14th, which is Thursday.
Comments, Vice Chair?
I believe I've made my position clear, and my motion still stands as is. Again, as Tara has stated, I would like to see that information be returned to the board for us to determine what we will choose to honor and what we will choose not to honor.
I would offer a friendly amendment to, this might seem foolish, but to include in this latest offer, again, the language that if somehow, if this prevails, and I have no intention of voting for it, if this prevails and they're given time to establish costs, that if we disagree with those costs, anything we do, I feel like, again, even though it seems like they're not willing to comply, they need to waive their right to proceed to litigation, because this could just be another thing that we deliberate in a month and we disagree with them and then they threaten to sue us again. So yeah, I would request that language be placed in there that if they fail to comply with the motion on the table, if it is passed, that if they disagree with the outcome of this board's decision at that point, that again, they waive any right to sue, even though they've broken that promise in the previous contract. I'd like to see them break it twice. I feel like it's a fair thing to ask. Friendly amendment, by the way, friendly amendment.
All right. Yes, Vice Chair.
Which I will take that friendly amendment, and what I want to emphasize is from what the attorney has stated, as of June 14th, they have to revert the deed to us, correct?
That is the demand. They will, they're in default, which is why we've asked for the reverter, and we gave them 30 days to provide the deed to us. So that expiration date is Thursday, June 14th.
So as of right now, what the motion that's on the table is not to continue this process of them not giving the deed back. The deed is expected back. The only thing that really is going to be being discussed here is whether or not we pay up to $50,000. I believe that's the clarification that I'd like to place, and I'd like confirmation on that, because that's what my motion stands on, where we get our property back as of the 14th of June. We're simply just going to have a item come back to us in July to just discuss what verifiable costs we will cover up to, not exceeding $50,000.
Okay, if I can restate what I believe the motion then, based on your clarification, is that your motion is that Shovel Ready will provide the deed back with a copy of their verifiable costs up to $50,000 with proof thereof. We will have the deed at that time executed to us, and you, as a board, at the July meeting, will verify those costs and determine if you believe those are verifiable costs.
Correct. So, again, to make sure I'm clear, by June 14th,
by
they're
June
giving
14th,
us
we
our
will get
deed back.
Correct.
Correct?
That's what I understand your motion to be.
That is my motion.
Can we ask the owner?
The way it's working is we're each having our own comments. We don't have a second yet, and so then we're going to let the attorney speak. And so, Board Member Costello, do you have anything to just ask before we?
Yeah, it's just that, Mr. Carney, you come here tonight ill-prepared. You come here, could be $70,000, could be $50,000. My question is, where, in something so important to the owner, where is the owner here tonight? Why isn't he before us tonight?
The owner's out of the country.
Out of the country. Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough.
All right. And Board Member McCray, any further comments?
I have no further comments. I just want to hear from Mr. Carney.
Mr. Carney, would you like to have final comments?
Well, a couple of points. First of all, I do apologize for being late, and as you know, I have other things. There was a meeting in Delray Beach, also the City Commission tonight, that I needed to be at, and I would hate that my client would be somehow affected negatively because I had other duties that I was trying to accomplish. Where I was sitting on the agenda here, certainly didn't expect to be on by 7:05 because I was at the bottom of the agenda. So I gambled that I would be okay. So apparently I made it just in time, but I am sorry that I was late. Secondly, as it relates to the language read by Commissioner Katz, I read the language, and while some may say that it's plain on its face, number one, there was a substantial amount of work going forward to that point of getting that building permit. Secondly, there is no time is of the essence clause in that provision. And when someone invests a lot of time, effort, et cetera, to do something and misses it by a day, and without a time of the essence clause, then I suggest you it's not so cut and dry. Again, I'm not going to try to argue the point about all the delays that people can argue. Staff, we can argue with the staff early on was one way or another. They certainly, at the end, where everyone was together. They're ready to issue the permit. We're ready to buy the permit. You don't want us to get the permit? That's fine. But we're still ready. I mean, you're all talking like there's only one option on the table. There are two. So it's really your call. And all we're really trying to get back, if it is the inclination of the board to not have us do this project, which we would be disappointed, is to at least let us get whole in the project. And as you rightly pointed out, you now are taking back a property that is more valuable than when you gave it to us. So this is, I have a lot of reasons for wanting to understand why we were put into this time crunch, but, that can be flushed at some other point. But we've come to you to try to get this deal done. I've given you a couple of options, and it's really, I really have nothing more to say. We're trying to move forward. I understand you're angry at us, and I'm not ill-prepared. If I would have come in with a bill, I added up to 50 and then I stopped because I figured if I asked for 70, I would be, escorted out of the town. So.
May I just, for the purpose of clarification, Section 22.2 of the agreement deals with computation of time. It states that time is of the essence in the performance of all obligations under this agreement. I'd just like to clarify that.
Okay.
And
on the original contract.
Further clarification that you did not miss the deadline by 1 day. You missed the 60-day extension deadline by 1 day. So you missed the deadline by 61 days, which is a far shot from 1 day. So just, again, to put all the facts on the table, I understand that, I understand your position, and just you're in default of the contract.
Board Member Katz, Mr. Kearney, are you finished?
To the extent that somebody Irish can never be finished, sure.
Yeah, okay. So we have a motion on the table. Do I have a second? Seeing none, motion dies. I will entertain another motion. Yes.
Clarification from legal, to proceed with the reversion, we don't need to take any motion, correct?
I would prefer a motion directing me to initiate legal and necessary legal proceedings to enforce the agreement.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to ask the property owner one final time tomorrow to abide by the contract, which I guess they have 2 days technically, so until June 14th, in the next 48 hours to return this property in exchange for the $255,000 purchase price that was paid, to avoid potential litigation as per the agreement signed 2 months ago, and in accordance with the vice chair to truly wash our hands clean of this and move forward for the sake of the cities and the taxpayer. So that's my motion, and to direct you to proceed with legal proceedings.
So, okay. Do we have a second?
Second?
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
Nay. So, we don't have a solution now.
It automatically proceeds.
So, correct. We get a comeback next month. I'm not okay with going to, fighting this in court. If we can just get this settled. So, we'll have another discussion next month.
Clarification from legal. So in 2 days, if they don't return the property, which appears to be their intent, you automatically proceed to...
I need your board direction. I need board direction to initiate proceedings. What I hear the mayor saying is, but as I suggested before, it is not waived. Your decision the vote not to proceed tonight does not preclude us from a vote in July, if it's the board's will, to proceed with proceedings then. And I think that Mr. Carney's heard your direction about what it is you would like to see to support his requests, and that will be up to he and his client as to how they wish to respond. And as the mayor mentioned, this will be before you, and you can choose to enforce the agreement at that time.
The only request that I have for Mr. Carney is if you could give us those hard costs so that we could see those.
I will develop a schedule for you. And if I can ask, when is your meeting in July? So I don't want to be late for that one, and I'm scheduled to go to Europe, for a ticket that was bought 4 months ago.
July 10th.
I'll be here.
Thank you.
Mr. Carney, just a quick question,
Yes.
because I'm a little, not upset, but why weren't we all lobbied? You hired a lobbyist. Why wouldn't the lobbyist talk to all of us?
We really weren't, the engagement of somebody local was really because we were unfamiliar with the process here in Boynton, and we wanted to make sure that all the right departments were being hit as we were trying to move forward. And he was only brought in very, very late because we were under a short gun of 2 months, and we were trying to expedite it so that we wouldn't run into this position, that we wouldn't miss that day, and that you'd be all getting ready to go to the ribbon cutting.
So you only had time to talk to 3 commissioners.
I didn't talk to.
Okay. That's good. Thank you.
Talk to me.
On to item.
Am I finished?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners.
Moving on to item D. Consideration of termination of lease for neighborhood officer policing program office located at 404 East Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard.
Yes, Board Chair and Board members, the item before you is out of the hands of or authorities of the executive director or staff to pursue termination of the existing lease for the property located at 404 East Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard that is currently occupied or was occupied by our neighborhood officer program. As indicated in the cover, we had begun letters and holding back rent payments because of defective plumbing and the effect of that plumbing defect in the ceiling, making the office unusable to our neighborhood officers. That continued from the month of March, April, and through the month of May. We, as staff, have not, we've sent letters each of those months notifying the landlord that we were not going to pay the rent because of the conditions that we felt the lease was supported us not doing that because it was unoccupiable, and the lease ends and terminates as of September 30th, and at this point we haven't received any rejection of our position from the current landlord, and so we're asking, really it's in your hands tonight to decide whether to terminate the lease effective immediately or ride the lease out through the end of the term. But as of now, we have not paid rent for these months, including June.
I'd like to go first, and we've sent Tara all the certified letters according to Florida Statute 83. Okay. Yes, Vice Chair.
Not be in breach or incur any costs for terminating the lease? Then I'll offer a motion to approve.
Second for discussion.
Yes.
Right. The reason I want to discuss this, first of all, we have them now in a city facility, and I asked Shut, I hope I'm saying your name right, Tweed. Well, she and Tweed and Shut. Well, she said Shut. But anyway, my concern is that we have them now in the Carolyn Sims Center. And my concern was that she said that we will place them somewhere over on 9th Avenue. I am not in favor of placing them out of view on 9th Avenue, and I don't know how we're going to keep them over in the Carolyn Sims Center. I'm looking at staff. But they need to be, I'm just saying, where youth will be easily accessible instead of placing them on 9th Avenue and a duplex. I'm not in favor of that. I want them to be easily accessible, visible, and this is my take, when they need to be on city site.
Isn't the Carroll Sims Center, is that kind of visible, no?
That's visible, but what they was going to do, Board Member Costello, was place them on the duplex that we had on 9th Avenue where we just bought it. They was going to refurbish that, and that's behind Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. That's as you go around the curve, and it is not visible. Carolyn Sims Center is visible, and my take is that since they're already there, let's keep them there.
I agree with that. I would agree with that.
Yes. Vice Chair.
Is that location feasible to be a long-term location for them? someone can answer that question.
The Carolyn Sims Center, I mean, CRA staff would much prefer the Carolyn Sims Center over this, the kind of suggested option for your consideration, which would be the empty side of the duplex on 9th.
Why were you even entertaining that
Well,
conversation?
we're providing options because according to Sergeant Deal, unless I misunderstood him, during the summer programs, which are now coming up again in this discussion, there is some restriction with adults being in the building because of the children in the building, which I'm not clear on, and if Sergeant Deal can explain or another city staff person could, we're comfortable as a CRA. They don't even need an office to have a program, but I think to be effective in the community, having a location that people can go to is certainly better than their car. So I totally support the board's position on the Sims Center as long as it can be accommodated by the city. And it seems like there's some first floor areas that could be, but that's not the CRA's call. It's not our building, unfortunately. Do you want to ask?
Yeah, please.
Sergeant Deal?
And what is the property address on 9th?
201 Northeast 9th Avenue.
Is that directly behind the MLK Quick Stop building?
To the east of.
Just east of, just on First Street almost.
Yep.
Okay. Yes.
Good evening, Board. Sergeant Henry Deal, Boynton Beach Police Department. You have a question? Or you have a...
So, can we ask you, what is your position of being in the Carolyn Sims Centers versus being on Northeast 9th, and what is your preference for the best effectiveness of your program?
I kind of agree with everything that was said earlier about 5 seconds ago. The high visibility at the Carolyn Sims Center obviously proves very productive for our interaction with children. Keep in mind, though, the Carolyn Sims Center currently has a summer camp going on. So in the morning hours, they have children and families checking in, and in the afternoon, they have children and families checking out. So the desk in the front, if you're familiar with the Carolyn Sims Center, is where we usually sit, and you use that area. And because they use that particular desk, we can't use it. They're using that desk for checking children in and out. So, again, for y'all both right, or everybody's right, the high visibility is perfect. I haven't been to the place on 9th. I was going to meet staff this week, in the next coming days on 9th to see. I've been to that particular building. I was there yesterday. It is a little bit off the beaten path, so to speak. But, we're flexible. We adapt and overcome.
What about a mobile mini type of a container office that we were talking about for the library or others? We used it for the harbor master for 7 or 8 years, like an air-conditioned, like a work trailer. I don't know what the cost of that would be. I know we've contemplated and discussed under the Ocean Breeze East project that there would be a more permanent location for the neighborhood officer program that continues, but that obviously is not going to be constructed in the next year. So I'm just throwing out an option. I know that they could range from $800 to $2,000 a month to rent one of those to put in the parking lot at Carolyn Sims, but it sounds like it's short-term. Once the summer programs are over, you can go back to a more comfortable space in there. Do you need maybe even an extra desk there in the lobby?
I think right now, like I said, we're adapting and overcoming. So the times that we're not at the Carolyn Sims Center, we're in our cars. So we're not doing without, and they're very receptive to us over there at the Carolyn Sims Center. So it's not a point that they're not receiving us, and we're not causing a hindrance to their operation either. It's just that certain times of the day, we just know, lack of better words, we know our role, not to go and interfere with families coming to pick up or drop off their children during these summer camp hours. We don't want to interfere with that, and so we just leave our move our stuff aside.
Sergeant, that really only accounts for about an hour in the morning and an hour in the afternoon, correct? About the pickup and drop off.
For the majority, there are some times that the parents come early or throughout the day. There are parents that come, if they get out of work early, I guess, or I assume, or they work a half day. I was talking to a mother yesterday who works for Uber, and she stopped by the Carolyn Sims Center like 5 times, and I just happened to be there, and she ended up talking to me. She's like, "Oh, I'm so happy that you guys are here," and all that kind of stuff.
Well, there you go. You just made my point. I think, if anything, for the parents who come randomly throughout the day who find you guys there, I think that's a point of just
like
gratitude. We're having you guys be there to be an extra set of eyes and ears for their children. But, in regards to the about an hour and a half time frame or so. That would be the pickup and drop off times of morning and afternoon. I guess those would be the only hours to work within. But if the rest of the day is covered for you and your personnel to be there, then I believe it's okay for us to retain the Carolyn Sim Center, especially if it's not a cost, an additional cost, then that would be fine. So again, I still make my motion. It's been seconded.
Yes, Board Member.
Right, my take is back to Mr. Simon's comment. I am not in favor of putting you all in no temporary, look like a storage bin. I'm just saying for you all to stay. Sir, I'm sorry. That is not the way we want to do community police, and that is not the way we want to send it out to the community. I'm just saying you all need to be visible, and if we have any problems that arise, you all are right there. And I'm just saying, you know, you need to be in the center.
I agree. I wasn't disagreeing with anybody at any particular moment. Everybody was right. Can I ask one? I just have one point of concern. And I did talk to CRA staff. The segues, when they do decide to take apart the police department in the coming months, when they move the police department to out west, the segues are currently being housed downstairs. We would have to find a place for them to be housed on the east side of the city or somewhere close to the heart of Boynton. Whether it be the duplex, if we can just store them there, or Carolyn Sim Center, I'm not quite sure, but the segue...
Can store it at the Public Works.
If it's okay, I mean, I would have to check.
You would need to, because the duplex, I think, is going to be demolished. I'm just saying they need to still, or we have, you know, security.
So I think finding a secure location in the Public Works garage.
Somewhere I can plug them in, that's all. Regular 110 outlet, yes.
Sergeant Deal, are those segues used on a daily basis?
We use them 3 times a week, weather permitting, yes.
3 times a week?
Yes. Because we overlap each other on our schedules.
And I'd like to say one thing is that you all came down to the senior center on those segues, not you, the other two. Thank you. and the elderly people, they was absolutely amazed. So I want to say thank you. I was down there with the lights flashing, and they said, "Oh God, we got the cops here. Did you do anything?" I said, "No, I didn't do anything yet." You know.
That was late last week. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. We're ready.
So I guess we're in an agreement for the Carolyn Sim Center with, I guess, working with Public Works for a space. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, do you need a motion to terminate
the agreement?
Got it.
Do we have a first and second?
You did.
All right. All those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on to item E, consideration of Community Caring Center of Greater Boynton Beach, Inc.'s grant agreement for the Boynton Beach CRA nonprofit organization grant program.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right. Any discussion from the board? Seeing none. All those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Vice Chair is absent. Moving on to consideration of Habitat for Humanity's International grant agreement for the Boynton Beach CRA nonprofit organization grant program. I have a motion. Do we have a second? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Vice Chair is absent. Moving on to consideration of an RFP/RFQ for redevelopment for CRA-owned parcels within the MLK Junior Boulevard corridor.
Yes, Board Chair and Board members, this is the item that is before you, is the discussion of the terms and conditions for qualifications of the proposals for redevelopment of the Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard corridor and the CRA-owned properties within the eastern and western portions of the corridor, adjacent and near Seacrest Boulevard to the west and Federal Highway to the east. We have provided you with a document that outlines the very typical paragraphs standard to our RFPs, as well as summarizing the terms and conditions that you have discussed at the March meeting, the public had discussed at the CRAB board meeting, the CRAB board recommendations, and those more specifically can be found on, if you're using your agenda view, it would be page 4 through 7 of the RFP document. And if you are using the full PDF, I have to count those pages out for you. it would be Jeff, to help each other.
I don't know.
Beginning the discussion, I made some notes.
Okay.
For Part I, the community economic conditions, I know that we state some facts there. However, we don't substantiate those facts with a footnote. Is it possible to substantiate that our population, we were 71,000. I believe the most recent census says we're 78,000. And so, just to find where those stats came from, so that it seems like we're not making them up. Otherwise in item 2, where retail is not required in each building or structure, I'd like to say that as part of, we are requiring retail in the commercially zoned areas. So, not all of it is mixed use. And so I'd like to make sure that people know that in the commercially zoned areas, we would want to have retail. And then looking at page 5, section 8, the proposal submission requirements. I don't know, do we normally ask for all lease agreements or ownership of the applicants and everyone that plans on being on there?
We have, in the cottage district, we did the town square RFP. You're asking for those things just to simply verify that the entities that are applying actually exist where they say. It's just another way of, rather than a newly formed group of folks that might not have an actual place of business. It's up to the board if you'd like to have it, but that's why it's there.
No, and the other issue is that we require certain minimums for this town square development. And so, if somebody, from the community wants to make the change and hasn't done anything before, we are actually prohibiting them from sharing their ideas. I don't understand what the board would think, waiving the minimums, saying that if you've never done anything, you really have to, have something very good. But, I don't want to make it so that unless you're already a developer that's done a lot of work already, that you can't, provide us your ideas what MLK would look like with the CRA properties that we do have, because we only have half the amount of the MLK corridor, unlike Town Square. So we're asking for a lot of vision with half the amount of land available. And that's kind of where I'm at. I'm not necessarily happy with regards to, our commitments regarding, the land and money, without some really strict community benefits agreement besides just, working, hiring people to help build it and hiring people to, work in there. So I'd leave it up to the commission to see what teeth we can put in a community benefits agreement. I see Board Member Katz saying is next, and then we'll see who wants to go afterwards.
Just a clarification on your request a second ago. Are you saying you want to drop the minimum standards to allow people who don't have development experience to either have input in the process or literally submit a response to the RFP, RFQ?
That's basically, yeah. I kind of want to have, we will know who is a developer, and, we're looking for the top 3. But it's kind of like, I want to make sure that we give an opportunity for the community who has ideas for what to be there to not prohibit them from giving us the ideas.
Wouldn't that be vetted at the time a developer is chosen, and they can come forward at that time and put their thoughts and ideas?
I mean, the problem with that is that the developer already made their ideas, and it's in addition to what the developer is already going to do. I don't necessarily know too many developers that says, I don't like, I don't, to change their plans.
I'm just using Town Square as an example. We had a concept there, but we had those community meetings where the community actually had input into some of their thoughts and process.
And so I guess that's part of our process that we have is the community charrettes that anybody who wins will have to do.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
That seems fine then. All right. Any further? Yep. Board Member Katz.
The advisory board made reference to a recommendation to potentially seeking out the tax credits similar to what we did for Ocean Breeze East. To the executive director, is it, in your opinion, based on the unique collection of property here? It's not, a single piece of property. It's not even a single grouping of adjoined properties. Is it worth attempting to require a respondent to the RFP to put in their tax credit, plans? Do you anticipate this has any chance of receiving tax credits based on its kind of disjointed configuration?
Well, I left open, and if there's other language suggested, I was trying to write the bullet point for under the board's commitment that you would consider requests, not accept, but that you would have out there on the development street the option or that you would consider requests for certain portions of the project if the project that you liked had to utilize that, but it's not a requirement that they do. I completely agree with you that the process of the low-income housing tax credit is a very frustrating and can be a very long one. I hope that the incentive in the current economic conditions, as well as everything that's happening along Seacrest from Town Square north, would provide enough incentive for the private development community or the nonprofit development community to be able to find financing or to create some type of a joint venture that they wouldn't need that type of a funding source for some or all of it. I am completely open to the board if you would like to exclude consideration of that type of a funding option. That's fine. It's kind of, I was thinking of that it's kind of not limited to, but if it's something that you really loved and that was the only option that you supported, you had, by putting it out there, it's there. But I'm certainly open to other languages that can be used for that, or if Terry has a suggestion.
So could I request that it'd be nice if people did, put in responses that included the tax credit provisions, but to include language that says that if you submit a response that seeks tax credits, that you simultaneously submit an alternative plan for no tax credits, sort of like we did for Ocean Breeze East.
Sure.
I don't want to make it a requirement that you have to submit for the tax credits, but I don't personally want to see anyone submit exclusively for the tax credits, because then if we're not interested in pursuing that, then that that respondent has basically priced themselves out of the game. So if somebody does include in their plan to seek 4 or 9% tax credits, that they must also include a non-tax credit plan, with local funding from the CRA, if that's how they define it.
Yeah, thank you. Any further comments? The only other thing is that we currently have the tentative schedule events that the CRA board is going to hear after our pick.
That's why we have the draft under it. We wanted to get direction from you on the timeline and your order of review.
I think we've had multiple times in the past that the CRA board should hear them first. I don't know if...
I think under the Cottage District you went the opposite, that you went through the selection initially and ranked or made a recommendation, then the CRA board under the Cottage District RFP will now kind of review your recommendation, so that they're not the first entity providing recommendations or review, that it would come to you, you would eliminate. That was how you did that. That's why I kind of...
And I'm okay with your decision. Yeah, flipping it, because we have the commercial aspect of it, which is a little bit different. And so, if they can... This middle, Michael, do you believe the staff will have enough time to have it on the September 6th crab board meeting, if possible?
If I did the calculations, and if that was the desired direction of the board, I would
September 4th,
raise the response date from the 20th to the week before, like the 16th, which I think is that Monday, the week before. I would like to get an extra 5 days, if it's got to go to crab first.
The submittal deadline is August 16th, as it currently stands.
Right.
Which is a Thursday. Are you
Yes.
saying you would want it being done on the 10th? As the new deadline, that Friday? But, that's only if the board wants to have the crab go first. Yes, Board Member McCray.
Thank you. I'm not in favor of the crab board going first. I'm in favor of let this body go first and then get input from them. I'm just saying we are the governing body. I'm just saying they're just liaisons, just give us advice.
Okay. Is there anyone else in agreement with Board Member McCray?
Yeah, I think that if there's too many options on the table, then you've got the crab board and us weighing in. I think it's better if we fine-tune the product and then give it to them to give further recommendation.
Okay. All right, so don't worry about that, Michael. All right. And then regarding the crab board's recommendations, do we want that implemented in the RFP, RFQ? Or are there specific ones we want them in?
Not really, because the recommendations will come back to us, and I'm just saying we are the final say. I'm just saying, we could still overturn whatever they said. We just review what they say, and then we go from there.
No, what they've already said.
Yeah, okay.
That's part of the agenda item. Under regarding, promotion.
We can review what they said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I agree with what Board Member Katz says, is that if tax credit financing option is made, that they also give us a non-tax credit financing option. All right. I guess can I have a motion approved as amended?
Second.
All right. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Moving on to new business. Consideration of terms for a lease agreement with the City of Boynton Beach and the Boynton Beach Congregational United Church of Christ for the CRA-owned property located at 115 North Federal Highway for temporary use as a public library annex.
Question.
Thank you.
Right. I know, let me ask staff, I know that they're supposed to be in there until December, how much are they paying us for rent?
$10 a month currently.
Okay,
And
now,
their request is to, go ahead, remember, sorry.
go ahead and say what you're saying, they're paying us $10 a month.
It's $10 a month under the current post-occupancy agreement, in exchange for allowing the city to occupy the building before the end of their post-occupancy. They would request and have requested that the board continue the $10 lease amount through the term that the library exists in the building.
Oh, okay, let me ask another question. Suppose something break down on where the church is. Who's going to be responsible for repairing that?
Under the terms of the post-occupancy now, the church is responsible. I would, once the renovations are made to the interior of the building and provided the church the space that is laid out for you in the diagram, then I would suggest that the CRA make them responsible for anything inside that space, a toilet or a light, light switches and things like that, that they would take over that responsibility, which should be very minimal.
Yes, another question. At the end of December, can we request that they leave and go ahead and give it to the library to go ahead and do the full expansion?
You can. The position of the church is in exchange for early occupancy by the city. They are, one of the terms of their acceptance of them coming in now is for the CRA to agree to allow them to stay past the post-occupancy. They're willing to let the city start moving walls and getting in there. If I understood your comment or your question, would they leave after the 6 months, and that the intent for them at this point is to stay on as a church.
Let me ask it another way. Suppose we need more space, Michael, after December, with the Town Square project and trying to place the library in such cramped quarters. Can we go in and say, oh, well, now we found out that we need the rest of the space? I'm just saying they only have 12 members. I'm just saying, can we say, okay, we could break the lease?
I would disagree with that. It's kind of, I've met with Mr. Birdsall, and, the fact is that under the terms, they don't have to move until December. So this is, something that they're doing nice for us. My question more is that, we wouldn't have access to the church space.
We would as landlords. Yes, the library would not. We would as under the terms of the lease of the landlord.
And
notice.
The situation is that it's not worth, I think, to jeopardize the deal that we have already to try to get the extra, anything past the 6 months, because what's going to end up happening is that, the amount of money that we're saving by not moving the library into the other space, the city can find other space within the city if they need more space, is my perspective of that. But, we're getting a good deal that the library is going to move to the church, where originally that was going to cost the city, I believe, somewhere around $50,000 a month to occupy that building. So the fact that we're already saving $300,000 just for that time period, I don't feel like it's a good idea to ask for the ability to kick them out more sooner than they need to, because we're not doing that. But Board Member McCray.
Thank you. I did not meet with him. Let me go ahead and make sure that you understand what I'm saying. After the 6 month period is up and we find out that we need more space, I'm just saying we have the rights to say, okay, we lived up to our obligation. You stayed here until December. Now, can we say, okay, you all need to find another home?
I disagree with that, but I understand what you're saying.
Yep. I totally understand what you're saying as well, but you're going to end up with two leases. One with, so the post-occupancy would fall away, and your new lease terms with the church would begin, as would your new lease terms with the city. So you'd have two tenants in the building. So the post-occupancy terms would not apply, because right now they have the whole building under the post-occupancy. So there's so many changes that would have to happen to the post-occupancy agreement that a new lease agreement has been recommended by legal and by the church, because it wouldn't, the location of the church, the conditions of the church would not match to the current post-occupancy. So it's cleaner to have two new leases for the building. In order for them to agree to that new lease, their position is, we really want to help the city, but we're happy to stay here till December, and we're also happy to get the library in here and participate in sharing the building. That's their only negotiation item, really, essentially, besides the city helping them with the build-out. Kind of the physical move of the church interior space is the ability to stay there afterward.
I understand what you all are saying with these lease, but follow me. I'm just saying up until after December, we will have another new lease that will be coming into us.
Yes.
Then we could say what we want to say in that new lease. We could say, okay, we're going to extend this only 6 more months. This is what we can do as owners, so that we own the property.
If the board motions to present that as the term of the board, then I would present that to the church, and they would bring back their response to the July meeting, because obviously we don't have an agreement in front of you. We're trying to just give the terms to put into that document that could be executed at a later date. We'll still have the city
This
lease
is what
too.
I'm saying, because when we deliver the check for $3 million, we are the owners, and I'm just saying, it's like me owning a car, and somebody will tell me, well, you can only drive it downtown and you bring it back to me. I don't buy that. I'm just saying we own it, but I'm just saying give it to them until December. When the new contracts come back, then we will sit down and review it again. I'm not saying right now kick nobody out before December. I'm not saying that.
I understand.
After December, come back to the table, let's renegotiate it. We might need more space for the city.
I understand.
Okay.
Yes, Board Member Katz.
I'm in agreement with Board Member McCray that just, I think it's better to leave options open. It doesn't, as he stated, mean we're definitively going to ask them to leave. That it could mean that we renegotiate terms to set a date certain that they would have to if we plan to do something additional to the library we're going to set up. I like the idea of having options versus locking us into an extended lease agreement.
Any further discussion from the board? Yeah, my thing is that if we make a counteroffer, that we may lose the space for the next 6 months. And that is absolutely, ability, because if we try to kick them out ahead of time, we're not doing what we say we're doing. But that's kind of where I'm at, is that this is currently the offer on the table. We're asking for a counteroffer saying we'd like to negotiate not for the same amount of time that the library is there, but for a time certain to say, instead of saying, December of 2018, that maybe it's December of 2019 that is the date certain. And I can understand that, but I'd be against trying to renegotiate what we have right now.
In 1 year from December, renegotiate?
No, I'm saying that currently, they may leave before the end anyway, and this is moot. But the point is that I don't want to jeopardize the current agreement that we have with them, saying, for them giving us their space for the next 6 months, because, like you said, Board Member McCray, we own it, but we're not the beneficiaries of it for the next 6 months. So you're right, we can kick them out after 6 months, but until then, they can keep us out for that time being.
Let's go ahead and move with the way it is now, because this is going to be chopped up too much. I'm just saying it, and let's just pray on it, okay?
Okay.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
I do understand your point, but I think you would want to have a term, and I would leave that to your board's discretion for there to be a term, understanding what the idea is here, and it can be automatically renewable unless we give them 30, 60, however long you want to give them notice.
So what I would like to say is that, similar to what we're going for, if they would willing to accept, 1 year extension to December 2019, with the ability to let them know whether it be 60 days ahead of time. Is that something that gives us? Nope. Okay, I'm just
like it's going.
You could even just add 6 months to the December date, and that would be a year there, with the option to renew after that, if you so choose. I know that time is of the essence to the city. They're ready. They wanted to be. It doesn't matter. They're not our client or they're our tenant. We're an independent agency. Yeah. But if this board determines that they need to make a counter and that counter would come back in July, then so be it. The city will have to wait to make any moves until that's done. If there is some other option that the church would agree to that you would present, then I believe the church would let those folks go in there and start working tomorrow, as long as they agreed, or the next day after they agreed to your terms, whatever those may be.
Okay, I don't propose new terms then. And so I need a motion to approve.
Edwin.
We did?
Yeah.
Oh, we had a second?
Discussion.
Okay. Thank you. So all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? I don't know. Okay. Moving on to consideration of roof replacement contract with Advanced Roofing, Inc. for the Historic Women's Club of Boynton Beach.
Yes, good evening. This item is before you to move forward to replace the roof in the Historic Women's Club of Boynton Beach. We have an estimated visual roof inspection done back in September during our due diligence period. There was an amount of $223,728 that's estimated to replace the roof. Since then, we have received, and we applied for and have received $50,000 from the Solid Waste Authority on top of the budgeted $200,000 to replace the roof. We wanted to make sure that all the events that were contracted previously have gone through their events, and hence we're back here asking the board for approval through a piggyback contract with Advanced Roofing Incorporation. In our procurement procedure, we're allowed to do the piggybacking option as part of an alternative process of procurement, as long as, according to the exhibit, the excerpt that I provided in the staff report, that the, I believe it's attachment 3, that they honor the unit pricing, as well as there's a commitment to the items that are written commitment for that, and that the procurement procedure that the City of Fort Lauderdale, which is the current contract, the base contract that we're piggybacking, is similar to our contract. There's other provisions as well, but we feel that this alternative will provide the fastest, most expeditious way to repair the roof, because again, with the recent rain event, we've had some leak in the facility. Also, it's a historic building, so we are very aware that it needs to be done in kind to preserve the historic characteristic. There are 2 types of roofing system. We are working currently, there's a couple of outstanding items with the contractor, which is Advanced Roofing Incorporated. Mr. Ben Bradley is here for any other questions. Those, I just want to provide the notice to the board. Some of those outstanding items are, we would like to have the warranty period in the materials. The contractor is a very reputable contractor. They perform millions of dollars worth of roofing, so we feel that they have the capacity to do that during the storm events. However, there are 2 warranties. One is the labor, which they're providing a 2-year warranty on the labor, but the materials in which is to be used, it depends on the different manufacturer. So we would like to make sure that we get those ironed out. The contractor Advance also would like to make sure that there's provisions for inclement weather with the rainy season, that they're not going to be penalized for that, nor they can, as well as to be penalized if there is a backlog in the building permit. We have committed to them that we'll be working with the city staff and the building department to try to expedite the permit review as much as we can. However, we don't know about the workload from the other contractors coming, but we will commit to that. The last thing is really the builder's risk insurance. We need to confer with our insurance agents to make sure that the CRA can purchase the builder's risk insurance through the construction. This type of insurance is provided usually by the owner or the general contractor. This particular firm, Advanced Roofing, is not a general contractor. They're a roofing contractor, so they're not able to do that. But it's something that the CRA is familiar with, and we can purchase that. Other than that, the Exhibit G has a proposal. We would like to work with the contractor to make sure whatever the warranty period for the manufacturer, we get the best warranty period possible for the CRA. Usually we're trying to get maybe a 20-year warranty for that. With the warranty, we need to make sure that the manufacturer has the proper inspection for the performance and for the repair work to be done. With that, I'm here for any questions. The amount of the contract will be an amount not to exceed $320,000. This includes the cost of the proposal for Advance to do the work. The cost is $284,934, and it includes a contingent fee, approximately 10%, for unanticipated costs. If I could remind the board, we had some termite damage that was done, that was identified, and we don't know without, going into the roof how much damage that is. So we anticipate there may be some damage, and that also includes design for a structural engineer to come and do the design work on the repair of the trusses. It also anticipated cost of the performance and payment bond. Staff's recommending a performance and payment bond approximately equal in cost of the repair work, as well as the allowance for the inspection and design costs from the structural engineer. We also seek the board to authorize the chair to execute the agreement upon final review by legal counsel, so that we can begin to do a notice to proceed as soon as possible in time, so that we can market the facility and have everything done by October 1st for the season, the holiday season as well.
If I can clarify, what I think the motion should entail is a motion for the executive director, grant the executive director the ability to negotiate the final terms of the agreement, because the agreement before you doesn't contain the final terms. As Ms. Shutt has proposed, there's some issues that are being finalized. So giving the executive discretion to negotiate the rest of those consistent with the legal requirements for piggybacking, which would be the subject to legal review.
Question from the board? I don't know. I will have Advanced Roofing here, so if you don't mind, come to the podium. And for me, can you state your name for the record?
Ben Bradley.
So, as you know, this is an Addison Meisner building from the 1920s, and you're confident that you're capable to fix all this roof and all the sealants and all the cracks. And, I understand with the termite damage, so there may be some, support repairs that you guys are able to do as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's all I wanted to hear. Anything from the board? All right. May I have a motion to approve? Yeah.
Will this be done like in compliance like it was done originally? The roof is just like
Yes,
the
sir.
original roof?
It's a similar handmade clay tile. Everything is exactly like it is, but new techniques with underlayments and all that stuff.
Okay.
But, yep.
So it keeps it historical
Same look.
value.
Same look.
Okay.
Yes.
I have a second? Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to consideration of additional grant funding for the Economic Development Grant Program.
I think, if I may,
Yeah.
Mike wanted some clarification on the church lease question, just to make sure we understood the direction.
My understanding from the motion is that we are not amending the current post-occupancy, and everything is staying the way that it is.
And so we're not giving them the additional time, and then that means...
You are not, right, you are not offering them additional time, and you are happy to accept them moving over into this other space if they accept no additional time. Does that make sense?
I'm sorry.
We didn't say it like that. We said, let it stay the way it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then the city won't be moving in.
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure I understood that correctly.
So I'll pull that for reconsideration. What ends up happening, if we don't agree to what their term, then we can't move in until we have an agreement with them. So it's postponing the library move.
No, my motion was that we let things go the way it's supposed to be going, and that the library could move in, and then we give them that space that they requested for those 6 months up until December.
That's what I understood of the motion.
No, that's not what Michael said. They are requesting up until
that's your counter.
The library. That our offer is saying that anything past the 6 months is a counter. They're requesting for the full time that the library is there. And so we would say we'd have to make a motion to approve their counteroffer to allow the city to move in.
But may I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
I think what I'm hearing, correct me if I'm wrong, is that someone wants to make a motion to authorize staff and legal to negotiate a lease with the city for the library space and a lease with the church for a different, smaller space for a term. And I believe that Board Member McCrae was saying let that term be until December of this year, which is the same, which correlates to the current occupancy agreement. And so that's what I'm hearing as being the will of the motion. I didn't understand that to be what.
Okay.
So that's.
I didn't hear that for Steve.
And the only question I would have, and maybe Mike would have, is if they wanted a longer term, would you want to give Mike the opportunity to negotiate 6 months to a different term?
No, it needs to come back before this board, because he could just say what they want to do, but he has to bring it back before this board because we own the property and we're the policymakers.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So that's just to be clear, my recitation was the vote of the board previously.
So the vote of the board is that we're going to say that we're asking them to move to the smaller space for the same 6 months, and that the city can move in. And if they reject that, then the city cannot move in. Because we're making a counteroffer, correct?
No. That's the confusing part.
Yeah.
Because,
Okay, let me start over, just
Yeah.
start from the beginning. So currently, there's a post-occupancy agreement that gives them the right to the entirety of the church
correct.
until December. The negotiation has been the city moving into a portion of that, the library, and the request from the church was, okay, we'll move to a small space, but we would like an extension of time that we can occupy that smaller space. So to effectuate that, there needs to be 2 leases. So the post-occupancy agreement would go away, and there would be a lease negotiated with the church for a term, and there would be a lease negotiated with the city for a term, for separate spaces. What I'm hearing, the motion that was on the floor was to make that lease with the church for a term of 6 months, after which the board can reconsider whether to renew or not.
Okay, so I understand. So they're basically, the church was saying that we want it at the same length as the city, and we're saying we're not giving it to them at the same length. The city, not saying that we're not giving them an extended time.
I think what we're saying is we're going to give them through December, and then consider renewal at that time. So it's not that we're saying we're going to not renew at 6 months, but it's going to be for a 6-month term.
Yes.
Yes.
And then renewable thereafter.
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I'm underhearing. So it would be.
I understand that. Okay. Okay.
The motion.
If you could, and and the board doesn't disagree, make clear to them that it's not our expressed intent to ask them at the end of that 6 months, and in all likelihood they will likely be granted. I'm in support of extending it at that time, but I think paying $3 million for a building and needing to use it for a specific purpose, and maybe having to expand it if it comes up short. Again, I like the flexibility, but it's not in my personal opinion that at that point I intend to ask them to leave. It's just that it gives us the ability to evaluate the situation.
Right.
Okay.
And would the board consider, as has been mentioned to the CRA, to me, would the board consider the option of allowing the first floor or a portion of the first floor of the women's club as additional either storage space or usable space to the temporary library as an option in conjunction with this building in the event that it was needed to get what the city needed done?
I think what we approved on is that we're asking the CRA to go back to the church and the city to have 2 leases.
I got
the
it.
situation is that we are subjugating ourselves to the church saying, no, we're going to take the whole 6 months and not have the city move in, which is a possibility, but that's
Correct.
most likely not going to happen.
Correct. That is a possibility.
They can certainly counter with that, and if we see, that they're absolutely against it, then, we have our opportunity to respond.
Okay.
And I believe to the executive director's comments, I feel like that's not necessarily the agenda item that we're discussing right now, but I would be amenable to that if it doesn't interfere with any of the programs or rental agreements that we've made with either weddings or other venues that have chosen to pay for that facility in order for it to be used as a storage for the city. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
It does, but I would bring a formal request of the city to you. I would bring that back to you.
Okay.
That's great. I appreciate that.
As
Thank
long
you.
as it doesn't interfere with our paying clients.
Okay.
And
It would need to be a more formal agreement with
Yes.
the city anyway, so that's fine. Thank you so much.
And on the leases, I would include a 30-day notice provision of our intent not to renew unless I hear otherwise right now. That's pretty standard.
All right. Yes, Tim?
Hello. Tim Howard, Assistant City Manager. Just want to refresh everyone's memory as far as the schedule for Town Square as it stands now. The library is the first building scheduled to move after the bonds are issued in right now the end of July. If we do not know a place for the library to move for sure. We will have difficulties securing a mover, and it will delay the town square project. Or we will need to go find other space to lease for the library.
Thank you, Tim.
The problem, we don't trust the Lord. That goes. Yeah.
So if the church denies the 6 months and want to exercise their post-occupancy of the complete building, how legal do they have?
Occupy the building.
So then
And you cannot.
then we have no library space, and we won't know that until when? July? We wouldn't know that until the next CRA meeting? July?
That would be the next.
So then we would go
opportunity
ahead,
for the
and we
board.
released space that we had secured for the library, so we would be back to square one finding leasable space for the library.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, I'll still put out that motion for reconsideration because I
Just-
don't want to take the
I just wanted-
chance. But if nobody wants to second it, I
I'll
understand.
second it. I don't, Tim, it's your recommendation to not gamble on this. I'm just asking.
I think that what I would recommend is giving Mike the flexibility to negotiate a term, not to exceed a certain period of time that you're comfortable with. And after that time, it can go to 6 months and become a shorter term, but if it's a year, give him some flexibility on that issue perhaps, which wouldn't require us to come back in front of you.
Well, we've been talking about this issue, and, we have a motion and a second to reconsider it.
Gavel to make that motion?
There you go.
Okay, I accept your gavel. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. And so, we got it.
I got it.
So, I'd like to talk about the item in the So, can you call him?
Recognize it.
Yeah,
I recognize the chair is making a motion. Go ahead, Chair.
Yeah, basically, motion to discuss the ability for the executive director to discuss terms with the church to consider more of a date certain than just the remaining amount of how long the library is going to be at the church, with the caveat we make sure that the library is able to move on the time schedule.
That's the motion. Is there a second?
There is.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Well, it's still going to do the same thing,
I say that.
Okay, motion passes 4-1.
So that was the reconsideration. Okay.
That was reconsideration. So, legal, do you understand your directives?
Yes, I do.
Yes, sorry.
Okay. So we don't want to lose the ability to move the library.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay.
And there is no time certain that I am restricted by.
Right.
Yeah.
Just do his
Okay.
best.
Yeah.
I like to do a reconsideration not to buy the building. I'm just kidding.
All right.
Pray, just pray.
Okay.
Chair, do you accept your gavel back?
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. And which item are we on now? The 14C?
Economic development grant.
Yeah.
All right. Consideration of additional grant funding for the Economic Development Grant Program.
Thank you, Board Chair. At the May meeting, the CRA Board asked staff to look into our existing budget and make a recommendation whether there was funding that could be identified to slide into additional, potentially additional grants in the Economic Development Grant Program line item. CRA staff has identified $50,000 that is available in the project funds business marketing program line item that was actually expended, so it won't negatively affect the marketing program. So that would be all the money that we've identified as available for you to reprogram into the existing line item for grants. As of this evening's approval, there is $18,000 left, $18,250 left in the current Economic Development Grant Program line item, unless you approve any additional funding, which in this case would be the $50,000 for the remainder of the fiscal year.
Any discussion, or may I have a motion? Yep, Vice Chair, then Board Member McCray.
Let me just say that I believe that this economic development grant program in this fiscal year, or for the past several fiscal years, but this one especially, I believe it's just been extremely commendable, and we as a board should be proud of what we're doing as a CRA. This is exactly what we were created to do, to help small businesses, help remove slum and blight, and as we encourage small businesses opening here within our CRA district, we're removing slum, we're removing blight, and allowing for local business owners to have an opportunity to thrive here in our city, and it's making waves. Definitely hearing from people just how commendable we're doing, and this is something that, again, we should be proud of, and I will definitely make a motion to allocate the additional funds to this line item in order to help continue the program throughout the rest of the fiscal year.
And a second act for discussion.
Yes.
All right, do we have any body standing in line trying to get grant money now?
Yes. There are files that are beginning to accumulate the necessary documentation to make it to the July or August agenda, if there is funding.
Okay. You answered my question.
Any further discussion from the board? Seeing none, all those in favor state so by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to consideration of and discussion of fiscal year 2018-19 budget.
Thank you, Board Chair and board members. The item before you, as we did last year,
Board Chair?
I'm sorry.
I apologize to interrupt you. Mike, would the board be amenable to moving item E prior to this discussion, since these individuals, I believe, have been sitting in the audience for quite a while? That way we can at least get them out of the way, and then we could have our budget discussion, which may take a while.
Yeah,
Do I need to make a motion for that?
Yeah.
I move to move item E.
So we'll move ahead to consideration of awarding contract for responses to the invitation to bid to perform landscape maintenance services on properties owned by the CRA.
Yes. This is a consideration of a result to an invitation bid to perform landscape maintenance services. Currently, there are 47 properties, and we have 5 entities that we contract out of. Due to the amount of workload, as well as to help control the cost, we've issued the ITB for interested parties. We instead of having one entity, we try to break it in 2 so that we can spread the work around. The board has in the packet the result, and I will make it brief. We did a thorough sufficiency review, as well as the review for compliance with the requirements. If you would note, the lowest, most responsible and responsive bidder for Category 1, which are the improved properties. These are the Women's Club, the Marina, and the parking lot. The lowest bidder is Vincent & Son Landscaping, Inc. I'm sorry. The lowest is Green Industry Landscaping in the amount of $27,610 annually. The second category are the vacant properties that the CRA has in its assemblage, and the lowest, most responsible, expensive bidder has offered the price of $22,680. However, we received a letter from Vincent & Son indicating that they, unless they have both contracts, they would like to withdraw their bid from that, in which case the next lowest bidder is LV Superior Landscaping at a cost for Category 2 of $25,800 annually. This particular firm did not make it on staff's review list as the lowest because there was a material item missing from the Category 1. However, when you look in totality, if the board chooses in the ITB, it allows the board to do a combination of awards to what the CRA, the board would think would be in the best interest of the CRA. So if the board would choose to waive any of those material requirements or give additional time for LV Landscaping to perform, to give the material documents in, their cost for both categories would be in the amount of $48,570. If the board chooses to entertain Vincent and Son Landscaping Incorporated to have both contracts there, their total amount would be $59,160. The reason why I put this forward is because Vincent and Son is the only local business that has qualified out of the 6 that has entered the bids. To date, also, I'd like to give the board some perspective. The CRA spends to date approximately $89,000 in landscape maintenance. This contract will be a cost saving to the CRA because this will be a 2-year contract with an option to renew for 1 year. And it's board discretion as to what you would like to direct us to do. So the contract, staff is recommending that it be awarded to the lowest, most responsive bidder for 2 categories. However, the board may choose to deviate from that.
Yes, Vice Chair.
$9,000 per year for category 1 and 2.
Yes, in combination, the way that it's split up, it's for various groupings of lots. So it's not for one, but in spending and looking at the spending that we've done this year, it totals $89,000 total for the 5 entities that we currently contract.
For category 1 and 2.
It's not group in that particular case. For instance, maybe Teresa could probably help me out, but it may be groupings of, like, the Cottage District would have one entity doing that. The Marina would be more specialized, so we would have a separate contractor doing that. So it's not just grouped in those exact categories.
So from what you stated, Vincent and Sons would be $59,000 per year for both categories, correct?
For both, yes, ma'am.
They're coming in as the highest when it comes to both categories?
They are the lowest for the vacant properties, category 2.
No, I understand. I'm saying when you're putting them together, how do they rank? If you're putting,
yes,
because the 3 organizations came in that can do both category 1 and 2.
Yes.
That would be Green Industry, that would be LV, that would be Vincent. So Vincent came in at 59. You said LV came in at 48.
48,
and what did
570.
Green Industry come in at?
And Green Industry at 110,410. So we're not recommending awarding to Green. It's really between Vincent and LV Superior.
Okay,
based
so-
on costs and responsiveness.
So Green was the lowest responsible bidder for category 1, and Vincent was lowest for category 2, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you. That ends my line of questioning.
To clarify, the maintenance for everything right now, and don't break it down to 1 and 2. What do we pay for the maintenance? $89,000 total?
To date, $89,000.
$89,000, that's all I need to know.
Yes,
Okay.
$89,570.
Okay, thank you.
And we have Vincent and Son in the audience? Or is... Yeah. Okay.
Have another
Yeah,
bidder
but-
as well.
Okay. And so... So, can you please state your name for the record? Nicholas Petrino. So we received the letter today saying that you need to have both the Category 1 and Category 2 to do the Category 2 at the lowest rate. Is
Yes.
that correct?
Yes, sir.
You are a local business, and we do have that. Michael, does the CRA do
Yes.
the local preference?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
which is 5% or 5,000, whichever is
Greater.
less.
So this is around 2,500, I guess, would be, if we're doing half. One of the things that I see a lot is that some landscaping companies, run over the trash that is there already. Do you guys pick up the trash before, cutting the yard? Because, the Heart of Boynton Beach and the vacant lots that we have had almost decades of trash on them.
Yes, Mayor, we do. We currently are the primary and local contractor for the entire city of Boynton Beach, and we currently do service CRA properties, such as the sign on Federal Highway, and we do trash removal during the litter run on various locations to include MLK Boulevard.
Yes.
What made you decide today that you couldn't honor the $22,000 for Category 2 today?
When we bid the contract, we bid it as a whole contract, and we put the numbers lower on the lots, thinking that we were going to bid the whole one as one. And when we were awarded just the lots, we found it wasn't financially feasible to only have the lots, because we came in at, I believe, $60 per lot, and on line item 1, which encloses 18 lots, we came in at $60 per 18 lots as a group. So technically, we'd be losing around $800 or so a month if we only got that one lot.
So Vincent and Sons, their bid is how much higher than the next one for both lots?
$5,750.
Okay, that falls under that consent to higher local, we allow what, up to 5%, 10%, Michael?
Well, I think the 5% or $5,000 is whichever's less. So if you look at the lowest bidder for category 1, 5% is $1,300.80. I mean, $1380 plus 50 cents. That is your 5%. So really, the 5% in that bid category is still, it's not going to be applicable. I think if you were looking at the cost benefit of having a local business for the price difference of $5,750, and really in terms of having the ability for them to be in the area already and the accessibility, that's what you would probably consider for the public benefit of having the local business, as well as to try to wealth build, because they are paying taxes and they're receiving work from the city of Boynton. So that's really your discretion. At your discretion, the ITB gives you full discretion to hire in part or all together.
My question was, how much over that 5% are they?
That would not be applicable
That's not
because,
applicable
right, because the
because-
amount is $1,300, and they're more than $1,300 from the lowest bidder in that category. The lowest bidder is at $27,000.
They exceed that.
They exceed that. It wouldn't be applicable other than the fact that there are some public benefits to having the local and to try to encourage local businesses.
But the combined offer,
But the combined offer, it really, the lowest would be 47, so you're looking at 2,000. So they are way above the 5% of the lowest amount, which is the 5%.
I'm all for hiring local. I think it's very important, but we've made these specifications and rules. Are we going to go outside that? Is that a slippery slope that we want to get on? Where do we cut that off? That's my question.
yes, Board Member McCray.
Wait, did you get your question answered?
No, I didn't.
Boy,
We try, as staff, we do have to stick with the requirement. With the board has discretion to weigh the public benefit and to waive some minor inconsistency. So it's really your full discretion.
Yes, did you get your answer? Board Member McCray.
thank you. Vincent and Son, right?
Yes, sir.
Are your company ones responsible for the mediums here in the city?
Yes, we are.
You are.
Certain medians, sir.
Certain mediums.
Certain
Okay, that's
mediums.
even better. Which ones are your certain mediums? That's what I need to know before I start complaining.
Oh, it's Federal Highway. We maintain the trash in the parks along Federal Highway, Gateway Boulevard, Boynton Beach Boulevard, Congress, from Gateway to Delray Beach.
Let me ask the question. How high do those hedges and those mediums have to get before you all just say, I'm going to cut them down because people complain to me about I can't see over, I can't see when I'm making a turn, who makes that judgment call?
It is in the contract, and we've been conversing with Ms. Glenda Hall, the Parks and Forestry Director, and she has been meeting with us with specifications and how she wants the hedges shaped and height moving forward.
Glenda Hall. Okay, then I need to go to Glenda Hall. Thank you.
Further discussion? Vice Chair.
So my understanding, if we're going to group these categories, the three bidders that came in with both categories is Green at 110, Vincent and Sons at 59, and LV at 48. Am I correct? Yes. On that? Being that Vincent and Sons is a local organization, I'm of the opinion to give them the preference here, especially being that we are currently, to date, for this fiscal year, have already paid $89,000. That's a $30,000 decrease that we would get in order to still work with them and at the same time still be supporting a local business. So I would be of the opinion to work with them and entertain their proposal of doing both categories, and I would make a motion to support that.
I also heard that we have another contractor here that's in the audience. Is that correct, Michael?
LB. Yeah.
I believe there are, yes.
All right. And so would you like to come up and ask you a few questions? Thank you. Please state your name for the record.
Good evening. My name is Jalisis, and I'm with Green Industry Landscaping.
Okay, Green Industry.
Right.
Okay, and you guys were the lowest bidder for the Category 1, but for the combined Category 2, it was substantially higher. And so, I guess, can you tell us a little bit more about, your experience?
I have over 20 years of agricultural experience, and we have 5 years of landscaping experience. We do commercial landscaping as well as residential. We have gone multiple times to the areas that have been on bid, and we took into consideration the sizes, the trees. All our guys and technicians have tree trimming licensing. We have fertilization licensing as well. We do have on board, we have the commercial pest control operators, so we do have a lot of people on board that are specialized to what they're going to be doing. And the problem is that when you go very low on these contracts, a lot of the times people will cut edges and cut corners and not do the job that they're required to do. And we don't work like that. If we give you a price, it's because we know that this is what it requires. We are working in mind with the lowest cost because it is a bid, but we don't want you to think, oh, okay, I'm going to offer you $30,000 and then not be able to do the job. Have trash everywhere or not be able to trim the trees and have the people calling us and letting us know it's not done. That's not how we work, and we do work with pride in what we do, and we want a job well done. If not, we wouldn't even offer our bid.
Thank you. Any further discussion from the board?
I just also wanted to say,
Yeah.
We are not here in Boynton, but today we got a call at 2:30 in the afternoon that we needed to be here, and we made all the arrangements and we got here in 2 hours. And we are motivated. We are new in the industry, but we do get the job done. And even though we're not here, if you call us, we're a call away, and we answer your call, and we're here, whatever it takes. So we want you to take that in consideration as well.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you.
All right. So we have a motion on the
I got
table.
another
Oh,
question
motion.
for Vincent and Son. You do the
Yes, sir.
mediums on Seacrest?
No, sir.
You don't.
No, sir.
Yeah, you got medium count. Yeah, we got mediums on Seacrest that need to be trimmed. Yeah, right. Yeah, okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, we got them. Okay, sit down. Okay, thank you.
All right.
But Nicholas, how long have you been here in the city with us?
We have been here for 5 years.
Okay.
Can I just, one more time, just clarify, the high number is, the two bidders that we have here. One is,
For both category, the highest is Green Industry for $110,410. The next highest is Vincent & Son for both categories at $59,160, and the lowest is LV Superior at $48,570.
there's about a $10,000 difference between the median, the second, and last, lowest.
There's approximately, let's see, 50,000 difference between the highest to
I'm
the
not worried
median.
about the highest. The
Right,
highest is out. We're not talking about the highest.
It's $5,750 between the lowest and the middle.
That's like 10%. Okay. Do I still have the Vice Chair's motion?
Motion was to award both to Vincent and Sons.
Do so.
I'll second that motion.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes unanimously. Now we're on to item D, consideration and discussion of fiscal year 2018-2019.
Yes, Board Chair and Board members. It is June 2018, and we as CRA staff, as did last year, wanted to introduce to the CRA Board the idea of going through and going over our debt service fund and our project fund, including our obligations under our current TIF agreements. There are 3 funds in our current operations as a CRA. There's a general fund, which contains the administrative, general operation, insurance, property maintenance, CRA board and crab board expenses, and marina-related items. Then there's the project fund, the second fund, which contains all of the capital projects, development project initiatives, property acquisition funds, local business grants, promotional events, as well as the innovative policing programs. And then the third fund within our operations and our accounting system is the debt service fund, which contains the CRA's financial debt obligations for our bond and encumbrances, as well as the tax increment agreements that you currently have. So this evening, in our first brush over of the agenda as we go into the season, we're going to do this each month until September, so the July meeting, the August meeting, and then the September. Tonight before you is a sheet, it's attachment the project fund spreadsheet, a snapshot of which is on the screen behind Vicki Hill, the finance director for the agency. And if you want, we can go through the top part of the spreadsheet, which discusses the balance of our funding after our TIF obligations, and that balance is going to be $6,170,803. That is the available fund in the project, funding amount in the available project fund. You'll see that we've identified the Town Square project funding out of that, the $3,700,000, and placed that into the yellow column as an obligation to the city under the Town Square agreement, and took the liberty of just simply picking 2 categories of project fund and placing an amount in there that is being proposed, which would be your special events line item and the neighborhood policing line item, and as well as our marketing assistance for our local businesses. You can eliminate all 3 of those even as we start, or you can consider them. The column to the far left is our current year and our current year's budget. Some of the money that will be moving forward and is already kind of spoken for going forward would be your MLK corridor redevelopment line item, which has $1.2 million, which we discussed earlier this evening. Although there is no money spent to date, that would technically be a rollover, so you can add additional monies to it, or you can leave it where it is. We have been working, Twee and I have been working exhaustively with the city staff on the Sarah Sims Park project, which you, in this current fiscal year, recommended approval and approved in the budget $600,000 to match the city's $700,000 for a total of $1.3 million for the Sarah Sims Park project improvements. We have been working with Kimley Horn and the city on ways to adjust the scope, add, take away, itemize, so that the board could have and make a decision as we continue forward through this budget process. Currently, in order to get the items that the board approved for that project, we will anticipate probably needing an additional $400,000 to $500,000. We are going to do a presentation to you at the July meeting with city staff on the final design of the park and just what those items and the cost of those items are, so that you can decide whether, for instance, it might be, instead of 3 pavilions, it might be 1 pavilion, it might be not security cameras right now, but security lighting, things like that, in order to come in closer to the $1.3 million. But I think Twee and I discussed this at length today. Again, looking at the cost breakdown, I don't believe that you are going to get the product that you have approved, given the cost of construction and the cost of the items in the current market. You won't get the product that you want for the $1.3 million. I think it's going to be closer to $1.5 million or $1.7 million. So that is a decision. We will, as I discussed earlier with some of you, that the option to leave it at $1.3 million, look at the numbers brought back next month with the professional consultant and the city staff to do a presentation, and work down toward that $1.3 million, I think is the right way to go at this point. This is a moving target. This can be changed all the way up to the September meeting, any of these lines and line items. So really, this is to get an idea of where your feelings are, what projects you'd like to support, what you'd like to change. If you would like to
Michael,
introduce...
you mind if we begin?
Of course.
All right, let's do that. Thank you.
And I told Tara I was going to be quiet.
Yeah. All right.
You know, I just want you to understand.
So I guess let's begin with the first item that we have on the list is the Ocean Breeze East. And, you know, so we have the amounts on the left is what we have in this year's budget, and that amount is either spent or not spent. And do we have those answers?
For certain line items, yes. And the ones that I can't give you will be brought to the July meeting, any balances.
Okay. And so for this, the money is spent, and there's no need to add more money to it. Is that correct?
To Ocean Breeze East?
Correct.
Yes, correct.
All right. So now we're moving on to the Town Square project funding. It says 3.7, and that's the amount that we can give, correct?
That is currently the amount that you obligated yourself under the agreement with the city, yes.
And and we gave the full amount of the 2.5.
It is obligated and in the process of being expended under the old high school project.
Okay. The next is Sarah Sims. We have the $600,000 in the budget that has not been spent yet.
Correct.
And so the question is that we are negotiating with city, and it seems like it will be in addition to that $600,000. And so right now I'd like just to roll over the $600,000 and get a better idea of what the additional costs are before we can move forward. And unless, because right now what we're playing with for next fiscal year is the $1.5 million. And so, does the board agree with moving that $600,000 over, and we can add to it when we see the more costs associated with it?
Here's my issue, my problem. It's like going when you go in to buy a car, you get X amount of dollars to spend, and then we start looking at the bells and whistles, and we keep adding on. We sat here as a board, and we agreed on $600,000 commitment to the Sarah Sims Park, and the city committed $700,000 for $1.3 million. And now we're being told that the proposed that was brought before us cannot be done for that. When we commit an X amount of dollars to a project, we got to work within budgets, folks. Here, we just keep moving money around like it's monopoly money here. These are taxpayer dollars. We made a commitment of $1.3 million to this thing. Whether that provided 1 pavilion or 3 pavilions. Okay, whatever that proposal was, let's stick to the game plan here. We just keep moving the line and just say, well, we'll add here and there. We use this like a piggy bank.
Yes. Vice Chair, then Board Member McCray.
Right, and I'm not disagreeing with Commissioner Casella. I believe simply what our Executive Director is saying, that over time with steel prices changing and construction costs coming into play, that's why these prices are changing. It's not necessarily that, all of a sudden the staff just decided to add extra amenities, and so that's how come this price is changing. So I'm of the agreement of keeping the $600,000, and we'll have a conversation at a later time if that's necessary. But we've made the promise, we've made the commitment of $600,000. Let's stick to that and let's move on.
Board Member McCray?
I'm in agreement with the $600,000 because I'm just saying we have a lot of money that we have not used over in our district too that we could move around if we had to move around. And I'm just saying, let's don't start nitpicking and saying that, we don't want to give a quality product. I'm just saying, long overdue. I'm just saying, I'm like the assumption as Vice Chair, if I have to deal with it later on, I will.
All right. Yes, Board Member Katz.
Yeah, I think that, once we know for certain what monies weren't spent on each of the line items and what could definitively be transferred, I'd like to see in between now and next meeting the next year's budget projection, including assuming that we rolled everything over in every category, just so I could see, at least personally for me, where we stand and if there's monies in one area that we could hedge to give more to some other areas. I would want to see not just the ironclad commitments that are currently listed, but also, for my sake, if no one else is, to roll over all unused funds from this year in each category to the same category, and then see how we can shift it around, personally.
Okay.
We can do it live right now if you would like to. I have no problem bringing it back in July, Board Member Katz.
The situation that we have right now is just the preliminary discussion where, we have last year's budget where we're seeing if the money was spent or wasn't spent, and then trying to get a rough estimate of what we're doing moving forward for the CRA board to make any recommendations. So, basically we're just going through the list. Should probably take us till 10 o'clock. Otherwise, we could say, yes, Vice Chair.
For the sake of time, if you just roll over everything, where would that leave us as a line, as a balance? If you just roll over everything that's already on this fiscal year over to the next fiscal year that's open, so that would be the Sarah Sims Park MLK corridor for the 1.2, the Women's Club 200. Is that already spent, or is that still needs to be spent?
That's going to be spent.
That's going to be spent.
I think,
so
Vice Chair,
if you roll over everything, it would not add up?
No.
Right.
It's the situation is that some of the items to the left have been spent, and some items have not.
Those are all the dash
Is that
marks,
correct?
right?
if I can explain what I think you're considering with this, what you just said, Vice Chair,
Yes.
moving forward, encumbered money won't give you more money to spend. It will show you what you will spend in total, but the only money you have to spend tonight is in the yellow line, the yellow boxes.
The 1.496.
So moving the $1.2 million over into the column, the yellow column, will increase the bottom line number, but it won't give you more to spend.
Understood. I'm not saying that we have more to spend
Okay,
either.
as
I'm not
well,
making up
you
a
said-
number.
well-
I'm saying the 5.965, that is the amount that we can spend, correct? Explain this to me so I can understand what I'm looking at,
Okay.
in case I'm confused.
Good evening.
Yes.
Vicki Hill, CRA Finance Director. Yes, we have 6.1.
Yes.
But after you take everything away, that's the town square. You have special events that we tried to cut down on.
Yep.
The neighborhood policing, and then the marketing. You have 1.4.
Or left.
96, yes, left.
That's what we can allocate.
That's what you can allocate. Now, we will come back. We'll let you know what can roll over, what we have extra, and we'll let you know that next month.
That being said, I'd like to state what my priorities are in the way that these funds should be reallocated for the following year. I am a strong advocate of the economic development grants continue. I'd like to see a reallocation of at least $500,000 be put forth for that category, because we obviously see that they are popular and they are being used, and they are again conducive to what we as a board are statutorily mandated to do. In addition, I would like to also see the 1.2 for the MLK moved over as well. I believe those are some important projects that will help improve that community. Being that that amount may not necessarily be spent in that time frame, perhaps that gives us wiggle room to do some other things. But I believe if I'm looking at the allocated number that we've been given here, which is the 1.4, that basically caps us at those two things that are priorities for me. So that ultimately almost wipes out everything else that's on the plate. So either that means we have to decrease the numbers that are available here, or we have to have a different conversation about how we do funding. But if the 1.4 is all we have to work with, then that means we have to really severely tie our belts here and try to figure out how to work with this.
Board Member McCray.
Thank you. I heard you say that we are decreasing the community policing.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
What?
About $2,000.
$2,000.
Okay. Explain to me why this is not affecting salaries, but this $2,000 increase, is this affecting...
It was miscellaneous office supply line. It was miscellaneous promotional item line. There's an attachment in your...
I'll keep talking, but let me ask a question. I'm just saying, since we don't have to pay rent now, because we're going to be in a city facility.
Yes, sir. That savings will roll forward and become available to you.
Yeah, well, let it stay like that. I'm just saying, but don't tell me about we're decreasing, the neighborhood policing, because I'm just saying, let it stay as is. I'm just saying, about $2,000, with office supplies. Okay, I think I can live with that, but I'm just saying, when I started saying decreasing things that we need.
What's the approximate savings that we would be seeing?
You're shaking your head, Vicki. Talk to me.
No, I'm just saying
She's
that,
agreeing
no, we
with
did
you.
not decrease their salaries or anything like that. We got that straight from the city. So the salaries are what they are, and we just tried to take out just office supplies, things of that nature. And we did not pay from this line for their, where they were being housed.
Okay.
We didn't pay for it out of there.
Okay.
I'll talk to you one-on-one.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Do we want to have a further discussion, but do with the discretionary 1.5 now, or do we want to wait until next month when we see things rolled over?
I'd still just like some clarification on some of these items that are in front of us. So, for example, professional services, $325,000. That's not something we have to roll over.
We do have monies out of the $325,000 that we can roll over, but we will have to, for instance, there is in that line item, there's $185,000 left after the $325,000.
No. Okay.
So, the situation that we have here is that we're kind of, we don't know exactly how we're looking for next year because we don't know what's rolled over.
We're operating in a blind.
And so,
yeah.
So I guess we really can't make too much of a decision because we don't know where we're starting from.
Okay, so could I suggest guidance then on the main items? Do you want to do special events? Do you
Yes.
want to have the neighborhood policing unit? Do you want to have economic development grants? Let's
that's
look at
what
it. Let's look at it as programs then. If you can't.
I think the problem is that we're not looking at the whole pie, and it's
No.
like, how can you say yes, no when you're not looking at everything?
Right, and everything here on this list is things that we've obligated ourselves to. We've obligated the $600,000 for Saracens. We've
Right.
also obligated, or at least already allocated the $1.2 million for MLK. So
Right.
I'm not really understanding what you're asking of us right now, Michael.
Is there a way in between now and next meeting to adjust the budgeted for fiscal year 17-18 to
what we have left.
if
Yes.
some's been spent, to put it straight through the total allocated?
I guess
and
so my
below
question is,
that,
Vicki,
put the remaining funds.
Yes.
can you send us the once you get the rollover amounts to each of us, and then we can adjust it and then make a decision next
Yes,
next
we can
meeting so
send it
that
out
we each
before the
have
meeting.
an idea of what we each want and we can discuss
Sure.
it then.
Yes, sir.
Is that
It's a pretty
That's pretty much
concise
what we
budget to
wanted.
work with, so if
Yeah.
we had that information, I think it would
yeah?
very good. Smooth.
Board Member McCray.
Yeah, I'm like that, and tell me what's the balance like Ocean Breeze. If we haven't spent it, then it'd be the next outlook. I said that it's still there. And if we spent something, take it away, then I can see that bottom line, that I can see, where we are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm in favor of that. It's just like, going to the grocery store. Buy one, get one free,
All right.
I wish.
I pretty much, on the
problem.
left, I just wanted you to see what was budgeted last year. That's why I put those numbers there, just so you would know what was budgeted last year. The Ocean Breeze East, those things wouldn't be touched. They would definitely be rolled over. Sarah Sims Park, that's $600,000. I already have a purchase order to the city, so it's really not going to roll. It's just going to be that same $600,000.
Okay.
We can do that for you.
All right.
But we
All
can-
right.
Yes.
And I guess one last thing regarding special events is I went to the Boynton Beach Dive Center, and I spoke with Michael today about possibly doing a lionfish tournament, because we do have multiple diving businesses within the CRA. The closest lionfish tournament is up in Jupiter or Fort Lauderdale, and I'd like to see us having a promotion for our diving industry here in Boynton Beach. I guess, yes, Vice Chair.
Just as a cool fun fact, we are the closest point to the intercoastal of all of, I believe, the state of Florida, or the
Being the ocean?
something like
So,
that.
yeah, we
It's
have the
really
closest
cool fun
exit.
fact.
Yeah, we're
And
the-
plus, we have the best ocean reef after, I believe, Key West or Australia or something like that. Like, we're really, really pretty
Oh,
cool
it's
here in
amazing
Palm Beach
down
County.
there.
Yeah, so
It's,
I
the-
would be amenable to doing some type of program that really accentuates all those features that we have here in the
Right.
city. I'm sorry, I'm bad with like.
No.
I'm in a fog right now.
I didn't know where you were
because I'm
going.
sick, So my mind's like, sorry guys.
Okay. So we're gonna basically get the updated Excel spreadsheet sent to us, and so that we can look at what we would want to do and then discuss it as a group next meeting. And that's any further discussion regarding the advisory board or future agenda items?
Yeah, question.
Yes.
Can somebody sit up here, sit anywhere and tell me, why do we have to see the approval of the CRA advisory board meeting minutes? I'm just saying, do we have to do anything with it? Why is, like when I picked this up, it's like I'm voting on approving their minutes. I wasn't there.
No, we are, is it approval, or we don't need a vote on their approval?
No,
It's- I
but
think
it
it's
should have another word instead of approval. That's for them to approve, not for us to approve.
So you want to say it's the approved? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Received, but it's really
yeah,
receivable,
it's,
so,
the
that's fine.
basically, they approve their own minutes, correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's a city board, so we can change that.
I just said CRA advisory board meeting minutes or something
Okay.
like that. I'm just saying,
Sure.
Yep.
that was bothering me. I'm sorry.
Okay.
That's okay. Thank you, board. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Yep.
We will adjust that.
So, do I have a second?
Second.
You got